In 2014, the Stampeders tasted ultimate success.
The Calgary Stampeders are the Grey Cup champions.
To repeat, they'll have to overcome the loss of some major contributors.
Cornish, left side, and he'll score!
But with the league's biggest game breakers on his side, John Huffnagel's final season as a head coach should be successful. Meanwhile, turnover was the word in BC. Jeff Tedford takes over, but the health of Travis Lulay and Andrew Harris will go a long way in deciding how far the Lions go in 2015. Stampeders, Lions. Friday Night Football on TSN is next. There he is, the reigning Grey Cup MVP. What a year Bo Levi Mitchell had in 2014, leading the Stampeders all season long into the title game victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats at BC Place last November. That was then. New season is upon us, beginning with a tune-up coming up tonight, the first preseason game for the Stamps against the BC Lions. It is Friday Night Football tonight. Welcome to it, Rod Smith, along with two-thirds of our regular panel. Now, Milt Stiegel, Chris Schultz along for this as well as we get set for this matchup. Two teams, very different years. The Lions were inconsistent. They had a coaching change. It's Jeff Tedford now leading the way of that team. And the Stampeders had some changes as well, although still a very good-looking core. But significant changes on the offensive line with Stanley Bryant gone to Winnipeg, Brett Jones gone to the NFL, as is Sean Lemon, I should say. Receiving core Nick Lewis off to the Alouettes. Mo Price is gone too. For the Lions, Paul McCallum, most notably. The veteran, no longer with the BC Lions. Stephen Logan, Tim Brown, Kevin Glenn, who played a very important role last year with the injury to Travis Lulay. He is off, backing up Darian Durant with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And Schultz, I'd like to begin there because if there's a change BC needs more than any other, and that's for their star quarterback Travis Lulay to be healthy. He had only one start last year.
Well, for Travis Lulay, going into his 8th year in the CFL, it's not about his ability, it's about his durability. Since 2007, he has had 4 injuries of significance to his right throwing shoulder. 3 in the last 3 consecutive years. He threw for a grand total of 194 yards last year. Now, why is this such a significant issue? I mean, he's Travis Lulay. You know what you got, right? Not necessarily. Jeff Tedford is a brand new head coach. Travis Lulay is not one of his guys. He didn't recruit him. He didn't develop him. All he knows is the video that he has seen of him. So the dilemma is this. Are you going to depend on Travis Lulay being healthy, or are you going to depend on yourself being a head coach and finding another quarterback? I'm not saying it's easy, but which way do you go?
Well, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're talking about he wants his guy, and his guys, we just don't know what those guys can do. We know what Lulay can do, but we don't know if he's healthy or not. And we know that Wally is the king of knowing when guys basically expire. Has Lulay expired? Because if so, they have to make changes. But if those changes are made, if they have to go with one of those younger guys, the BC Lions won't win more than 5 or 6 games this year. So they have some major decisions to make if they want to have a successful year.
Lulay dressed and was in the warm-up tonight, but they already planned all along he will not play. Neither will number 2 John Beck, so it's John Jennings getting the start. We'll see him, also Travis Partridge and Greg McGee as well. BC, Jeff Tedford deciding to bring a lot of young players into this preseason game. As for Calgary, we'll see the regulars in the first quarter. We looked at the changes, Milt, but still, despite those changes, we see at the core, that's the Grey Cup championship
Those changes mean nothing. This team is going to be a great team. If I was a betting man, would I give them the Grey Cup right now? I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me, but I have to say yes. This team just reloads. Yeah, they lost some quality, some all-star offensive linemen, Jones and Bryant, future Hall of Famer receiver, another great receiver in Mo Price, but this team knows how to rebuild. John Murphy, one of the top personnel, if not the top personnel guy in the CFL. They have so much depth, and they have Bo Levi Mitchell at the quarterback position. So this team will not miss a beat, Schultz.
Milton, no way. You got a team that is called the Edmonton Eskimos, and I really wonder what would have happened if Mike Riley had been 100% healthy in that West Final, whether that game would have been more competitive than it was. You give credit to the Calgary Stampeders, there's no doubt. They won because of their depth. You'd have player after player coming in performing as if they were starters. But there's no doubt the most hungry team is the Edmonton Eskimos. They were beat once, twice, three times,
four times.
Yeah. This is a brand new year, so no way. I am not going to.
I may change my mind tomorrow. I may change my mind tomorrow.
We still have to do the season preview show in a little less than 2 weeks' time. So you haven't exactly awarded the 2015 Grey Cup to the Stampeders. Team's looking awfully good. We have a lot more still to come. Wendy's Friday Night Football getting set for kickoff at McMahon Stadium. Preseason tilt number 1 for the Stampeders. And the Lions, not rain nor snow or, yes, hail at McMahon Stadium will prevent us from showing you this game tonight. Among the most significant changes in the Canadian Football League in the offseason, it would have to be the rule changes right at the top to open up the game and make it more exciting. Here are some of them. On punts, the interior lineman can no longer leave before the ball is kicked, so that could open up the return game. The 5-yard, no yards penalty added to the end of a return, not back at the original point where it was caught. Extra point convert. This could be incredible when you think about it. Move back to the 25, so a 32-yarder for a single point or a 3-yard try for a 2-pointer if they scrimmage there. No re-kick option on the kickoff, by the way, where it goes out of bounds. And there is more to talk about, including the one at the bottom most significantly. You can also say coaches can no longer request measurement. That'll be done at the referee's discretion to speed things up. Slot backs no longer have to be outside 5 yards to be an eligible receiver outside the tackle. And this one is the biggest of all, I think. The defender can no longer contact a potential receiver 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. So right beside me, I got one of, if not the greatest receiver in the history of the game, and I assume he just loves that rule. Do you, sir?
No.
What? You don't?
Are we getting soft now?
Oh.
Now, I've been involved with this league since 1995, and Schultz, the league has been around. What was your first year? 2019?
No, don't go there.
But
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, since 1995, there's always been that leeway where that DB could hold a little bit because you have somebody running at you full speed with that waggle. But now things have changed. I mean, we had 3 receivers last year over 1,000 yards, so they felt we had to make some changes. So if I'm a receiver who played last year, who's playing this year, who's happy about all this that happened, I understand that. But realize they had to make changes basically because you couldn't get open. So that benchmark rule of 1,000 yards, that changes. To have a successful season now, it has to be at least 1,300 yards.
I say this with confidence and conviction. This is the best thing to happen to the Canadian Football League in 30 years because this is what it'll do to the game. It will enhance lead changes. Milt, your team is winning. My team is winning. Then I come back, your team is winning. That makes the game entertaining. It will limit the number of 2-and-outs. Punters, I'm sorry. We don't want to see you. There is nothing more boring than a punt, followed by a punt, followed by a punt. Let's have some sustained drives. And then the other thing is in 3 minutes, with 3 minutes left, some drama on who's going to win.
Yes.
And with these type of rules, especially the punt game, the return game, you're going to see that drama because teams will have the ability to come back.
Is it safe to say early on we may see a lot of flags as players get used to it?
That's what I
don't
wonder
think
about
we
too.
will. I think the defensive backs
You have some defensive backs who've been playing this style for 5 or 6 years.
These guys are smart.
No, they're not.
If they don't play this style,
if somebody's running by you, saying you're going to grab them,
threat of employment,
you're going to give up those 10 yards instead of that touchdown.
Honest, Rod.
There's going to be some flags.
You don't want to see punts, but you may like the punt return game, as you said, a lot more now. Just in case.
Great.
It is a preseason, but they're in late season form in terms of their ability to bait. Not soft at all.
Getting soft.
We got a game to watch, preseason style here. Calgary. Let's head there now for the Lions and the Stamps. Rod Black and Glenn Suter.
Oh, yes. Well, they get along in this studio. It's football time, folks. BC Lions, Calgary Stampeders tonight. Wendy's Friday night football. And we hail to the new preseason. It's hard to believe. An hour ago, the weather here in Calgary, it was coming down in hailstones at 6:40 Mountain Time. Players retreated to the locker rooms. A little bit of a delay here. But it doesn't matter. Football is here.
Yeah, and it's this time of year is all about the evaluation process. 2 different approaches. The BC Lions have left 12 starters back in Vancouver. They want to see their young group of players and who may step up and try to take a job. There's some opportunities for BC Lion players to take some starting jobs. Not so much for the Calgary Stampeders. Defending champions, 15-3 team. Grey Cup champions, and there's only a couple available starting spots. We'll get into that tonight.
There's the new guy, the rebuild in BC, Jeff Tedford, former CFL player, did great work at Cal, and John Huffnagel, CFL Coach of the Year, defending Grey Cup champions. It's preseason football, and another new face is Anthony Farah, who will kick off for the Lions. Paul McCallum, the veteran, released by the BC Lions. before this preseason begins. And the kick, we're underway. Wendy's Friday Night Football preseason action, and taking the ball to the 32-yard line is Derek Joseph. So now the teams come to the field, and the cast of thousands that are here tonight. And Bo Levi Mitchell will bring his team out. I wonder how much time we'll see of Bo Mitchell tonight. I'll tell you what, we saw a lot of him last season.
Yeah, 15-2 record as a starter. Bo Levi Mitchell, your Grey Cup MVP, will see about 5 snaps in this game tonight, and then they'll go to some young guys. There's the leading receiver for the Calgary Stampeders a year ago, Marquay McDaniel, and the leading rusher, 3-time rushing leader in the Canadian Football League. In just 9 games, Cornish was the leading rusher a year ago.
Little play action, and dumping it out of the backfield to Rob Cote on the right side up near the 40-yard line. Rob Cote, the veteran, dependable fullback. Here's what we'll look at tonight for the BC Lions, who left a lot of guys at home.
Yeah, they left a bunch, including the league's MOP and outstanding defensive player in the league last year, Solomon Elamimian. He's back in Vancouver. But Alex Bazzi had a great rookie season, 10 sacks in 2014. Jabbar Westerman is going to be very important with the Canadian ratio for Jeff Tedford. And there's Court Parks. He's playing out on that corner. No Dante Marsh for the BC Lions this year.
Which is hard to believe. 2nd down and 3 for the Stampeders, and the catch made up near the 45-yard line. And it is Jock Sanders. Jock Sanders has had 2 pretty good years in the Canadian Football League. Grey Cup ring in 2013 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Grey Cup ring with the Calgary Stampeders in 2014.
Coming out of the backfield here for Bo Levi Mitchell. And I agree with, to a point, with Milt Stegall back in the panel when he said you can almost give this Calgary Stampeder the Grey Cup right now. I mean, obviously that's not true. There's a lot of football as we kick off this season, but this is a loaded team in Calgary.
Well, here's the main bullet right there, John Cornish. And of course, last year Cornish in the season opener took that forearm from Kyrus Hebert and then was knocked out of the lineup. John Cornish did remarkable things last year considering Suits.
Yeah,
he only played half a regular season. 9
games and was the rushing leader. And a lot of people talking about the possibility to get to 2,000 this year if he stays healthy. Had a conversation with him yesterday about it, and it was very interesting.
Including him, 2nd and 2. There goes Cornish, and very close to a 1st down.
Yeah, early on, the big hit from Kyrus Hebert, illegal hit, of course, where he came across the head of John Cornish, knocked him out. He played in 9 games and was the rushing leader. And the discussion yesterday, I talked to him about the possibility of 2,000 yards. He said, first of all, he doesn't set those numbers types of goals. That it's going to be, if he gets there, it'll be a team goal that's achieved, and believes it's possible.
And off to Sanders. He darts back near the 45-yard line into BC territory. 7-yard pickup for Sanders. You know, you talk about Cornish and what he did. He averaged 122 yards per start. If you projected last year out over an entire season, it would have been 2,164 yards. That would have eclipsed the previous record. Of course, the only guy to go over 2,000 in CFL history is Mike Pringle.
Yep. Possible. He's got to stay healthy, and he's got to get the touches. And that's where Dave Dickinson, the offensive coordinator, comes in.
2nd down and 3 now. Mitchell, play action to the far side for Marquay McDaniel. Again, you'll see the starters, most of the stars for the Calgary Stampeders, who have many more players in this game, probably through the 1st quarter here and maybe a little bit into the 2nd, but then you're going to start to see some of the youngsters. We may even see young rookie quarterback Andrew Buckley in this game today.
Yeah, you're only going to see Bo Levi Mitchell and Marquay McDaniel likely for this series alone. Dave Dickinson wants to get Bo Levi Mitchell just some snaps, get him out of that training camp mode and into live game mode, and that's what they're doing with this drive. This will probably be his only drive of the game.
Handoff, Cornish, 1st and 10. Alex Hoffman-Ellis, Washington State, makes the tackle. Again, no Adam Bighill, no Saul Elamimian.
Three-time outstanding Canadian. 2013, John Cornish was the outstanding player in the CFL, and Mike Pringle's the only guy in the CFL to get to 2,000 yards, and I think he can do it. I asked him, I said, you know, you got to get the touches too. I mean, we might see more passing of the football with the rule changes here in the CFL this year. He said, no, I'll get the touches.
Yeah, I guess so. 2nd and 4. There's another one for Cornish. Lunges up the middle near the first down marker. And again, tonight we're going to talk a lot about the rule changes. The Stampeders score here, something you have not seen in the history of the CFL, is an extra point attempt. Scrimmage from the 25-yard line, and the kickers kick from the 32. Here's 3rd down and 1 yard to go. Nobody in the backfield, so Mitchell goes forward in his progression. He'll be very close, but there is a penalty flag on the far side. Looked like somebody jumped.
Well, interesting, too. You talk about those rules. Let's show you some of the new rules, because they'll move the 2-point convert attempt up as well to the 3-yard line.
Number 95. 5-yard penalty becomes first down.
Two biggest ones for me are going to be defenders and the contact. Defender cannot initiate contact after 5 yards, and the other one will be the 5-yard no yards rule is a tack on. That's to keep the game moving faster. And then the 5 interior punt cover players cannot cover until the ball is kicked. We'll get into it as the game goes on. The first chance for our viewers to see the new rule changes.
Ball throws. One hopper for Joe West. And West, a big part of this team last year, came through a very emotional season. Joe West did win a Grey Cup championship with the team, but lost his brother, tragically killed last year. And Joe West missed a few games for the Calgary Stampeders, bereavement leave. Says it's an entirely new season this year. Second down and 10. Mitchell now goes end zone and trying to run under it is Eric Rogers. Made his CFL debut last October, of course, and then the big Grey Cup game, 5 catches for 108 yards. Came late in the season and became a big part of the offense.
That was a monster Grey Cup game, and the leading receiver for both teams in the Grey Cup game by Eric Rogers. 2 starts in 14 the regular season and just exploded in the playoffs.
Here's a guy who has to improve his numbers, he says, this year. Rene Paredes puts it through on a long drive that ate up a lot of the clock here. Almost half the first quarter. Rene Paredes, the field goal. 3-0 Calgary. Preseason football. Sean Gore, one of the returnees for the BC Lions. When we return, the Lions will go on offense here tonight in Calgary. Well, the BC Lions do have Travis Lulay here tonight, but of course he's recovering from his shoulder problems. You're likely going to see a lot of Jonathan Jennings and Travis Partridge, Greg McGee, southpaw as well here tonight for the BC Lions, who are obviously looking towards the future. So many changes, not only personnel-wise, but really culture-wise.
Well, and yeah, complete change, starting with Jeff Tedford, their head coach, and Jonathan Jennings has earned the start tonight. His play in training camp.
Brendan Bigelow cuts to the 25-yard line and is dropped there. One of the newcomers, Bigelow, out of Cal Berkeley. Of course, that's where Tedford was a coach, as we take a look at the starters to watch here tonight for the BC Lions.
Well, we're putting in some of the veteran players that made the trip for Vancouver. Obviously, a lot of starters. Andrew Harris is not here, neither is Courtney Taylor, but Sean Gore needs to have a big season. His numbers have declined since his big 2011 year. Marco Iannuzzi, really same thing for him. He's going to get a chance to play at that outside spot and might go with 3 imports. Jeff Tedford's looking at reworking that offensive line. Dean Valley's got to step up as a leader in that group.
So it is Jonathan Jennings at quarterback of Saginaw Valley State. Travis Lulay was warming up with the team tonight. Of course, that is a story. Significant one for the BC Lions. Lulay's recovery from shoulder problems. Let's take a look at the starters, of course, for the Calgary Stampeders, and these guys are all stars.
Across the board, it is amazing. This Stampeder defense is the same defense that played in the Grey Cup minus one player.
There's a bullet to Brian Burnham. Burnham spent some time last year in the lineup. Suffered a spleen injury late in the season, his first game out of Tulsa. One of the players they're keeping an eye on here, George Cortez, the new offensive coordinator in BC. Jennings now rolls, throws, and has the man. And down the sideline is Terrence Jeffers Harris. Down near the 5-yard line, actually knocked out at the 10-yard line on a big toss from Jennings, a 62-yard play to Terrence Jeffers Harris.
Starts with a nice play fake for a young player who looks pretty composed getting this start for the BC Lions and John Jennings. Talked to a few of the coaches for the BC Lions earlier today. They talked and raved about his training camp.
Into the red zone. Jennings has a man and tripped up. There's a penalty flag. He's looking for Cameron Mora in the end zone on a post pattern, and he got tripped up.
Yeah, it looked like it was the trip more than anything. Now, the new rule change for defensive backs basically states that they're not allowed to initiate contact outside of 5 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Accidental pass interference. That penalty happened in end zone, but by rule will be applied from PLS half the distance. First down.
But that is in the illegal contact context, not in pass interference. Pass interference basically remains the same. I think they were going to let Keon Raymond's hand on the back there go, but the incidental contact and the fact that they tripped up and went down is the call, and it puts it down on the 5-yard line.
5-yard line now, first and goal for Jennings. He'll throw again. Jennings now has to dance, and he's down. Brought down by Freddie Bishop. Sacked at the 10-yard line.
Well, that's the only spot on the Calgary defense that is open, and it's not really open because Freddie Bishop was with the Stamps last year. But Sean Lemon played off the edge. He's down in the National Football League. Other than that, it's all starters coming back for Calgary from the championship season.
Jennings again over the middle, caught and down to the 1-yard line. Austin Collie, the former Indianapolis Colt and Niner, New England Patriot. Austin Collie had a big career in the National Football League out of BYU, finds his way to the CFL and could be a big part of this BC offense if he stays with the team on a wobbler.
Half distance to the goal, and this will be first down.
Yeah, you're right, Rob. But, you know, one of the biggest and maybe most important stories for the Lions right now and their fans is the play of John Jennings. And if Jonathan Jennings can play well in this game, continue to progress, and maybe take a little pressure off the return of Travis Lulay. Because Lulay, if the season were to started tonight, would not have been able to start.
John Huffnagel watches. Big drive here. Penalty, first and goal. Jennings has been throwing the football since he came on the field. 22-year-old. Now he hands it off, and running into a wall is Brendan Bigelow. A big wall. Quinn Smith out of Concordia University, the first-round pick last year from the Stampeders, says hello, Brendan Bigelow.
Run on first down and little tempo offense here as Jennings gets out over the ball quickly.
He'll throw. Has time. Waits. And almost caught in the end zone once again. Was looking for Brian Burnham. So Jennings looks to the sideline. And it'll be third down. They are going to bring out the kick team.
Rod, a good first series for Jonathan Jennings. Showed some poise back there in the pocket. Moved the ball. The nice play-action throw to Terrence Jeffers-Harris to get him in the score zone. They need to find a young guy. I mean, John Beck did not practice through training camp. He's the veteran quarterback. He's back in Vancouver. Travis Luley isn't quite ready.
Well, for the first time in 12 seasons, the BC Lions don't have veteran Paul McCallum, who has been released by the Lions, and Richie Leone is one of the players auditioning for a spot. Game is tied. 2 impressive drives so far for both teams. Preseason football, Wendy's Friday Night Football will continue from McMahon Stadium in Calgary in a moment. There is the new man in BC taking over from Mike Benavides. Jeff Tedford. Boy, he has groomed some outstanding players while at Cal, including Aaron Rodgers, including that guy named Aaron Rodgers.
Well, yeah, and he has a background in Canadian football. Spent 6 years in the CFL as a quarterback with Hamilton, Calgary, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan. So he knows the rules. He knows the differences. Great resume.
Richie Leone. This is Greg Wilson. They had a mock game the other day here, and Greg Wilson impressed a lot of people. We'll probably watch a little bit more of this fast-footed wide receiver and returner. Stamps back on the field in a moment. Dreary, rainy night. John Huffnagel, preseason game tonight for his defending Grey Cup champions. To the sideline we go. Here's Catherine Dolan.
Well, Rod, in 2009, after the Stamps won the Grey Cup, they got their rings during preseason the following year. This year was different. Friday before training camp started, they got their rings. Now, we spoke with John Cornish. He said he liked it better that way. He said he felt they could celebrate as champions that night. The next day, they could move on. As far as he's concerned, that's behind them. They're focusing now on improving and getting better this year as they go forward. Now, in terms of the ring itself, well, it's pretty impressive. It weighs 70 grams. It has 20 custom rubies, 6 round rubies, and 89 diamonds. And the inscription on the inside of the ring says, "Whatever it takes, finish." Not bad.
That's some nice bling. How does that compare to your Grey Cup?
Yeah, they're getting better every year.
That's not a ring, man. That's a jewelry store.
Ryan Mooney's going to play now. Bo Levi Mitchell on the sideline. There is your Bo Levi Mitchell was your Grey Cup MVP last year.
Brian Moniz out of Hawaii was third-string quarterback for the Stamps. Over the top he goes. Marquay McDaniel gets rocked but hangs on to the football.
Yeah, John Huffnagel told me yesterday that the rotation for his quarterbacks would be the young guys would basically share this game, that they were going to give Bo Levi Mitchell one series, maybe even only 5 or 6 plays, snaps, and then they're going to get him out of the game. He's on the sideline now. Probably won't see him the rest of the night. Drew Tate will also not play much at all, just short yardage in this one, according to John Huffnagel. He wants to rotate the young guys.
Moniz, play action. Again to McDaniel. Out there is TJ Lee. The flat to bring him down. We are going to see Bo's bro, though, later tonight. Bo Levi Mitchell's brother is on the Stamps preseason roster.
Yes, we will. Brian Moniz out of Hawaii was Drew Tate. When Drew Tate played, Moniz became the short yardage quarterback.
Second down and 10. Moniz now in trouble, and down he goes. Josh Johnson, sensational season last year. Has a sack in the preseason. Former Purdue Boilermaker made an immediate impact last year to the Lions lineup. Makes an immediate impact on Mr. Moniz here, a loss of 10.
Yeah, he came late. One of the few veterans that is actually here in Calgary. Guys like Torrey Williams, Ryan Phillips, Solomon Elamimian, Adam Bighill, those guys all back in Vancouver. First chance to see the new punt rule Interior 5 guys can't leave till the ball is kicked.
See how spread out they are. They can't leave. No flag. 48-yard boot. And brought down. And whistles blow. And already a little pumped up here tonight. It's only the preseason, but a lot of people are auditioning for jobs, including this guy, Jonathan Jennings. Josh Johnson with the sack. It's 3-3 Stamps and Lions and Wendy's Friday night preseason football. There is 22-year-old Jonathan Jennings, who worked out last year in Saskatchewan. 2014, didn't make that team, had a couple NFL workouts, and on the sideline, Travis Lulay.
And Travis Lulay, very careful with his shoulder through training camp, but did start every practice or most of the practices with the first team. Made all the throws in camp. The conversation I had with him today, I asked him if the season were to start today, the regular season, could you go? And he said, I don't think so. We're not quite there yet. There was some rumors that he was trying to change his throwing motion because of the shoulder injury. He said that's not true at all, but they're just being cautious, that they wanted to set the timetable to have Travis Lulay ready to play in game 1 of the regular season, not game 1 of the preseason. So Jonathan Jennings, Travis Partridge, Greg McGee get a chance to show their stuff in this preseason game.
Jennings looked good in that first drive as he hands it off to Bigelow, and that's spied perfectly by Jeff Heck, the former star at St. Mary's. A penalty flag on the play. One thing that happens in the preseason too is you get to see a lot of nylon come out. Players still a little rusty, getting some
Major
rhythm.
foul piling on. Calgary, number 91. 15 yards, first down.
So negate that play by Heck.
That's not a rule change, though. That piling on's always been there.
Quinn Evans. Sal Bradbury makes the call.
Now, you mentioned the penalties in the preseason, Ron. You're bang on. I mean, and with these rule changes, we're likely to see some more illegal contact penalties and things like that into the regular season, maybe even to the halfway point, where the veteran players learn a new way to play.
Up near the 49 now. Jennings back to pass. He's chased down, but delivers it to Sean Gore. Up near the midfield stripe. Tackle by Duron Mayo. 7-yard gain. Jennings impressive so far here out of the chute tonight.
Yeah, he is. This is real good news for BC fans. I know it's real early. This is just his second drive here with the BC Lions, but I like his composure. Threw for over 10,000 yards in college.
Oh, baby. Look out. Knocked down. And a loose football. Calgary football. Duron Mayo swoops in. And John Jennings in the act loses the football.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with Jennings and the way he's performed in a couple series here, because he doesn't see it. This is his blind side, and he needs that block from Kirby Fabian to come out from the guard spot and pick up the blitzer coming off the edge, Duron Mayo. And no way Jonathan Jennings has a chance on that one.
Final minute here, first quarter tonight. Duron Mayo back-to-back plays. Big plays.
Don't leave me hanging again, Mayo.
Moniz back at quarterback after the turnover. Tim St. Pierre out there at fullback as well. Stays into block. Ball delivered right side. And shoved out of bounds is Eric Rogers rather aggressively. But it is a 12-yard gain and a first down for Calgary.
I know you voted, as I did, for our TSN top 50 players. We do that every year. And one of the guys that wasn't really on the master list for us to vote on was Eric Rogers, because he only played 2 games. I put him as a wild card on the list. He was on my list.
Good wild card.
Yeah.
Moniz now, again, lots of time, slings it. Has it. Rogers, 20-yard line down to the red zone. Eric Rogers out of Cal Lutheran. Only 2 games played in the regular season late last season. 9 catches, 149, but he found pay dirt twice late in the season.
Well, and twice in the West Final. He only had 3 catches in that game, but scored on 2 of them. And then you mentioned his Grey Cup performance was the best receiver on the field. I mean, this guy's just emerged in a hurry. He's on my top 50.
Final play, barring penalty, first quarter, low toss, far side for Anthony Parker, and Moniz gives the thumbs up, says that's my bad. And that's the first quarter. 3-3 the score, a pair of field goals, but a turnover here could lead to more points for Calgary. We had hail earlier, sun is out now at McMahon Stadium as Wendy's Friday night preseason football continues. Couple of weeks away when we get it underway, when it really means something. The regular season on the horizon, but preseason football tonight in Calgary. 3-3. Really even Steven for the most part statistically, except for time of possession, owned by the Calgary Stampeders. Bo Levi Mitchell leading his team down to a field goal. And Jonathan Jennings, Glenn Suter, doing the same for the BC Lions.
Yeah, this is important for Lions fans and for this organization, because with Travis Lulay's shoulder, they're going to need a young quarterback to show some life, to show that he's potentially a guy that could buy some time for Lulay. I know John Beck is in the picture. He wasn't able to practice through camp because of a viral infection, but he will be part of the picture, and Travis Partridge is going to be part of it as well. But if they can find a young Jonathan Jennings to get the fans excited, take a little pressure off Travis Lulay. I thought he had a pretty good first quarter. That blindside hit was not his fault.
So now after that turnover, Moniz, 2nd down and 10. By the way, over the last 2 hours, we just went through 4 seasons.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking weather-wise.
Weather-wise.
Yeah.
Look at it now. The sun is out.
Well,
it is beautiful.
Offside.
Well, just
Calgary.
wait a minute. It'll
Number
it'll
85.
change.
5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
You know, you mentioned Jennings was in Hamilton Monday night with Chris Schultz. We did the radio broadcast, Ticats in their opener. We saw Jeff Matthews. And, you know, before you start talking about the Travis Lulays and the Bo Levi Mitchells, you know where they cut their teeth? In games like these.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Live action is when you really find out what a player can do.
Start to see the stars being born, and may see one of those tonight. We'll be talking about as Matt Walter can't haul that pass in from Moniz, so the kick team will have to come out. Rene Paredes. Did you notice before the game as well, we were watching the kickers. First thing they go to, the 32-yard line to warm up, and it's taking a lot of kicks because there are a number of kicks from the 32. Now this is going to be for 3 points. We haven't had a touchdown tonight, but when we see a touchdown, we will have a 32-point convert.
Which is not automatic.
No, and that's why the kickers are working on it.
That's right. It's not an automatic kick, and that's why the change and the 2-point convert attempt moved up to the 3. So there's a decision involved for coaches.
So this is a 3-point convert attempt. In many ways, we'll see that all season long. And so Rene Paredes, whose field goal percentage plummeted last year to 74%, puts it through for 3. But again, single points, point afters, which were at one time automatic, are no longer automatic.
Yeah, and I like the fact that coaches are going to make a decision. I mean, if it's a win game in Saskatchewan or a place like that, and you're looking at a 32-yard extra point, you might decide to take the chance and go for the 2 points from the 3-yard line. You know, there's some people that felt like you're making it easier to get 2 and tougher to get 1, and that doesn't make much sense. But believe me when I tell you, it's still harder to run an offensive play and score. How many 1-yard goal line stands have we seen defensively throughout the years? It's hard to run an offensive play and score. But it makes it a little tougher on the kickers from 32. It's not automatic. So when fans were going to get their popcorn when the extra point was happening, now they might just wait for a second, take another look.
You got that right. Ricky Galvin is the returner. No Steph Logan anymore in BC. Tim Brown was also released. There were a number of roster changes for the BC Lions. More outs than ins.
Paul McCallum, a big one. Talk more about that as this game goes on. I think Paul McCallum may get another shot in the Canadian Football League. And Eric Taylor playing right here now and trying to get a spot in this roster of the Calgary Stampeders.
Wait after this play.
Dante Marsh, J.R. LaRose, the BC Lions looking for a new safety. Chris Rabakamba and Keenan Parker working at that position.
Jennings stays at quarterback and dishes it off out of the backfield. Pascal Louchard, the former Vanier Cup champion with the Laval Rouge et Or. Big fullback, bruising fullback. Louchard picks up a few yards.
Talked to Jeff Tedford about his quarterback rotation. Oftentimes in the first preseason game, there won't be really a method to the madness. Just give everyone a chance to get some reps, especially the young guys. He said that wasn't the case for Jennings.
Second down inches. Looks like the Lions will convert. And once again, that's Galvin out of Washington State. So a lot of names and faces that we're not accustomed to yet, but you never know. You have a big game, and it's interesting how a preseason game goes for some of these players. They know they have to make hay while the sun shines, and they have to have a moment. Do you try to do too much? You're guilty sometimes, particularly at quarterback, of making mistakes. Jennings hangs it in, and then there's a mistake out of the backfield to Galvin.
Yeah, Galvin he put a little too much heat on that, but you're right, Rod. I mean, Ricky Galvin wants to try and make as many big plays as he can while Andrew Harris is not dressed on the roster. And by the way, Andrew Harris sounds like he is back from that leg injury and will be ready to go to start the regular season.
Manny Arsenault also not with the team here tonight. The BC Lions at training camp in Kamloops. They'll return there as they get ready for their next preseason game and the regular season game. It was a big kick. 48-yarder. And now breaking it outside is Nathan Slaughter. One of the newcomers, one of the newbies for the Calgary Stampeders we'll talk about here tonight as well. Out of West Texas A&M. Stamps offense back at work in a moment.
Take a look at the new look Calgary Stampeders for 2015. Eric Taylor from the BC Lions added to this roster. Jasper Simmons, part of the trade that saw Mo Price go over to the Ottawa Red Blacks. This is the one, though, Rod, that is going to be hard to get used to. Not seeing big number 82 Nick Lewis in a Calgary Stampeder uniform.
Well, whistled in. Brian Moniz hands off to Matt Walter. Up near the 40, he bashes away. Welcome everyone to preseason football here tonight. Rod Black, Glenn Suter, Catherine Dolan with you. So excited. A couple of weeks away and you get it underway again. Didn't it seem like yesterday that we were watching that Calgary Stampeder team win the Grey Cup, the thriller against the Hamilton Tiger Cats?
Well, there are a couple of spots, you know, not many. Remember when you saw that board, Brett Jones no longer with Calgary, that award-winning center. So Pierre Lavertu is moving into that spot, and we have to juggle that around a little bit, but Calgary Stampeders love the depth in their receiving corps. Jeff Fuller is not even dressed for this game. He's going to rest a bit of a knee injury. Anthony Parker's had a big camp, Canadian receiver.
That's been their pedigree, though, the last few years. They've been loaded at receiver. Moniz, 1st and 10. Here's the rush. Oh, what an escape. Now he throws against the grain. Was looking for Mark Jordan.
Coming off the edge as a blitzer or even a defensive end, you want to be on the upfield shoulder, the deep shoulder of the quarterback, so that he can't duck in. He's just fought that one off to give himself a chance.
Moniz out of UC Davis has been with the Stamps last season. 4 for 8 so far. Wanted to go deep, goes to the sideline instead, and in and out of the hands of Derek Joseph. And that's the thing, too, with a receiver. You know you only got a couple of shots here. And if you get one in the gloves, better be hanging on.
Yeah, I think I counted 14, 15 receivers for the Calgary Stampeders on the depth chart. They like a bunch of them, some of the young guys, too. We haven't even got to, like Greg Wilson, you mentioned earlier, is having a big camp, and some of them are going to probably play for other teams.
Here's Rob Maver, our first look at him tonight. Last time we saw Rob Maver, he got dusted in the Grey Cup game by Justin Hickman. A concussion left the game and had to recover in the offseason. He had an injury-filled offseason. Downfield quickly. Back near the 25-yard line. We're going to watch that guy as well. Tim Vizzy. They say he could be the next Western wrestler. They've said that about a few guys before. Sad week in Calgary football this week. Thumper Wayne Harris passed away at the age of 77.
Played for the Stampeders from 61 to 1972. The MVP of the 71 Grey Cup game. One of the best linebackers in the game's history. I mean, this is an 8-time CFL All-Star. I found interesting this. Wayne Harris was drafted by the Boston Patriots of the AFL, and he chose the Canadian Football League over playing for Boston, and became a perennial All-Star.
Hand off here, and it's Ricky Galvin. Well, Wayne Harris, that number 55, that was retired by the Calgary Stampeders. Canadian Football Hall of Famer. His son, Wayne Jr., by the way, is the new coach, the Calgary Dinos, here in Calgary. And Wayne Harris had a huge impact on football in this city and in this country. The way he played. His
was
image
on the stamp.
On the stamp, the 100th anniversary.
The 100th
stamp.
Grey Cup.
It's Austin calling.
John Huffnagel, the funeral, left practice to go and attend the funeral, and left it in the hands of Dave Dickinson for that practice.
Our condolences to Wayne Harris and the family and the Calgary Stampeders. Loss of a legend. Another incomplete pass here. That was the stamp. Those were awesome, weren't they, for the 100th Grey Cup in Toronto, and all of the teams represented. And could you have picked a better representative than Thumper Harris? Richie Leone. Big boot again. 43-yarder. Rick Cunningham with a 12-yard return.
I'm just watching this new rule where the interior 5 on the punt cover team cannot leave till the ball is kicked.
Do you like it?
I do like it. Yeah, I do like it. And there is more room for these returners. I'm seeing that inside wave of tacklers not getting there as quickly, obviously, as they did last year. And it's gonna create some offense, some big plays.
Dominic Davis now a quarterback of East Carolina. Spent some time in the National Football League. Great pedigree as a quarterback. Comes in, hands it off to number 49, Torrey Harrison. And there's a penalty flag on the play. Harrison out of Southern Miss. 26-yard gain. We'll see if this is brought back or the Stamps will continue to move the football. But Davis is in the ball game now. Again, fighting for one of these backup spots behind Bo Levi Mitchell.
Rotation there at quarterback. We'll probably see Andrew Buckley as well. And big, strong, powerful arm.
After yards were gained, illegal block, Calgary, number 78. It's a 10-yard penalty from the point the ball was held. First down.
Nice run, of course. Torrey Harrison was on the practice roster in the last year for the Calgary Stampeders.
First and 10 now from the 37-yard line. Shotgun. There goes the football. Brought down this time on the far sideline.
Also watching and looking at this defensive back change and how it's going to affect the game. Defensive backs, again, are no longer allowed to initiate contact after 5 yards. For years now, about 5 years, DBs is one of their techniques, would catch the receiver at about 7 to 10 yards, reroute them or stop them, make them start again.
Davis, play action, could have pulled it back. Davis is known for his feet. He can really run the football. And the handoff again to Torrey Harrison. So they will bring out the kick team.
So basically what that means is defensive backs now will be able to make contact in this area. And that's from sideline to sideline, of course, not just between the hash marks. And anything beyond that, they won't. So when that receiver is coming out of his break, he's going to be clean. He will have avoided contact by then. It's going to have an interesting effect on the game. Scoring should go up. Big plays should go up. Protection of the quarterback should be better.
Be interesting to see how some of the quarterbacks who are touch passers react to that. Here is Vizzy. Oh, what a move. Tim Vizzy. Spin move out of San Diego State. 6'3" Stamps. One of the newbies for the BC Lions, looking pretty good tonight. Jonathan Jennings with more. Let's go down to Catherine Dolan.
Well, yes, Rod, Glenn certainly talked about it. We've seen a lot of calm composure from John Jennings before the game. He was relaxed. He was talking to his teammates. He certainly didn't seem like he was nervous at all. In fact, he seemed very excited to get this start. After every series, especially that first series, he came right over to the sidelines, found Travis Lulay, and ever since then, every time he's come off, he's found Travis, and the two of them have really compared notes, talking. In fact, more so on Travis's side, obviously sharing notes and giving tips to the new rookie quarterback. But how long are we expecting to see him? Well, depending on the flow of the game, probably until the end of this first half. Whether or not we see him in the second half, Coach Tedford said that he probably wants to see a couple of his other guys, but obviously depends on how well he's done this first quarter, this first half. It's pretty good so far.
I think he has been. I mean, it stalled a little bit of late, but you know, he threw for over 10,000 yards. I don't care what division you play in. You throw for over 10,000 yards, you've got passing arm.
Now he has to look and look. He has a man open right there, and Jeffers Harris decides to throw it deep. Big arm and knocked down, looking for Marco Iannuzzi. Here's the thing about Jennings, though. Unlike some other quarterbacks, like late in the game, they're going to be playing against second and third team defenses. Jennings is playing against the Stampeders' first team defense here.
Yeah, he is, and guarantee you he wants to do that. Athletes are competitive guys, and they are out there saying, hey, put me against their best. I want to go up against their best so I can show the coaches I can stay composed. That was another example of the poise and composure he showed. He bought himself some time, got out there, maybe threw it a little short for Iannuzzi, but pretty good start for the youngster.
Richie Leone, another big kick. Now kicking it outside is Sanders. Brought down by Keenan Parker, 52-yard boot. Well, CFL on TSN preseason action continues tomorrow night. The Saskatchewan Roughriders against the Edmonton Eskimos in Fort Mac.
Yeah, and there'll be a regular season game there as well. And Darian Durant's elbow is all good. All reports out of the Rider training camp.
That's all great for Rider fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tomorrow night, preseason action continues. Again, as we inch closer to the regular season 2015 to kick off. Davis finds Greg Wilson. Again, Wilson in a mock game the other day. Really limited contact. In fact, really no contact. Took one 75 yards for a touchdown. This guy's got amazing speed. But he was also on the practice roster for the Broncos. Called in 2014, 4 days before the AFC Championship game, and was just taking a few passes from Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
All right, Greg. You said you didn't do it. Maybe that's our first mistake.
Out of Fordham. Davis looks for him again. Good defensive play.
Yeah, Alex Tillman broke on that. I think the timing was close, but it looked like he made shoulder-to-shoulder contact before the ball arrived. And again, pass interference when the intended receiver and the
defensive pass interference, BC, number 36. It will be a 10-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
See, the rule change does not really affect pass interference. It's about illegal contact. This is a play on the ball, the intended receiver coming back. You see the early contact just before the ball arrives, drew the flag. Mark Washington, defensive coordinator, likes Alex Tillman.
1st and 10.
Easy up, guys.
Busting it up the gut again is Harrison. 4-yard pickup and into Lion territory here in the second quarter. 4.5 to go before halftime. We'll send it to the boys in the studio.
Now, I mentioned that this rule change will help the quarterbacks as well, and I think we're going to see healthier quarterbacks. Almost every quarterback in the league last year was out for some time or another because of injury, and I'll explain why after this play.
2 blockers in this time. Slant pattern again to the near sideline and finds Wilson, the 24-year-old.
What I mean by that, Rod, is when a route is run by the receiver, they're usually breaking that route off. The break point is at about 10 yards, between 8 and 12 yards. Whether you're running that out or post route or even just stuttering to run a curl and come back to the ball. Well, when defensive backs were allowed to jam and hold receivers right at that break point, quarterbacks were having to pull it down, and they were getting hit more because of that. Now they'll know, the quarterback will know if their receiver clears the jam at the line, he's got a receiver to throw to.
Bad snap. Davis now has to scamper. Here comes the rush, and down he goes, sliding away and avoiding a big hit. Dominic Davis, bad snap here. Remember, this is a Calgary offense without Brett Jones. That time it might have been on Davis, too. That ball looked like it might have been gettable. So now, BC Lions take over here on downs. Often you get an opportunity in preseason to keep your drives alive. Go after it on 3rd down as Jennings now launches one more time down this sideline, looking for Terrence Jeffers Harris, the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber and Hamilton Tiger Cat. Now with the BC Lions, also spent some time with Saskatchewan. In fact, Jeffers Harris was even in Calgary back in 2013.
83 catches in his career, and sort of a last shot here with the BC Lions. And had Terrence Jeffers Harris just took off and run from the get-go, that might have been a completion.
3-minute warning before halftime. 6-3 game. Preseason action from Calgary rolls on in a moment.
Rod Smith back in the Friday Night Football studio with these two guys who actually really do like each other. It's sometimes hard to tell. Milt Stegall, Chris Schultz, going to talk about the Lions QB situation, the rule changes. They'll argue more about that. The Michael Sam news as well, leaving Alouette training camp. 3 minutes away. Back to McMahon, Rod and Glenn.
All right, thank you, Roderick. You know, you can still show love. You know, even if you have differing opinions. Just because you may, argue or not get along all the time, that doesn't mean that.
It's all right.
It's all good. It's all family. Jennings over the top and caught. Big toss. And down near the 20-yard line is Burnham again. Brian Burnham makes another catch here tonight on a peg from Jennings, who stood in and delivered.
Again, that was another just show of confidence from a young quarterback. Watch him as the pocket's collapsing here. Jonathan Jennings steps in strong on that throw, throws it over a linebacker and drops it on that dig route coming across the middle.
Jennings 5 for 10, 116 yards to the red zone, looking end zone, one-on-one. Was looking for Austin Collie, the former NFLer, but That ball was overthrown. It was a jump ball, and both defender and offensive player misjumped.
Let's go back to that play. I think this is Jonathan Jennings' best throw of the first half, only because he's got to feel the pressure coming across and dropping in there, and see how he puts it over that row of linebackers and drops it into Burnham in behind him.
25-year-old Burnham out of Tulsa, again played late last season. And suffered a spleen injury, and that time they get to Jennings. Lin-Jay Shell crawls away. That's one of the most unique sack dances I've seen. I don't know what you call that.
Well,
the scamper after.
Yeah, I think he
crawl.
I think he made it up because he went down, but yeah, and Jennings couldn't escape this one. He looked to the outside briefly, and that's when Lin-Jay Shell, the former BC Lion, closes,
turtle, I guess. Shell.
Closes quickly. The turtle shell. 4 starts for Lin-Jay last year in 2014. Stamps.
So now Anthony Farah comes in out of Texas Tech. Good kicker down there. Spent some time in the NFL and a couple of rosters. 39-yarder for him as they try to find a replacement for Paul McCallum, and he hooks it through. That ties the game. Well, Canada's group stage action continues with their next game Monday versus the Netherlands. Live action kicks off on CTV, TSN 345 at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Canada coming off a 0-0 draw with New Zealand. You watching some of that?
Yeah, I am.
It's
I absolutely am. Yeah.
I think everybody in Canada is.
I've never really been a guy who's watched a lot of soccer or football, if you're depending on what you're calling the game, but
it's soccer to us.
Yeah,
nothing against because we have football. This is football to us.
Exactly. This is our football. But I have been watching it, and I get caught watching just to start to see how our Canadian team is doing, and I'm watching 2 teams from 2 other countries for about 45 minutes and thought, hey.
I know. It's great when events like that happen. And the same thing, by the way, is going to happen when the Pan Am Games come.
Yeah,
and everybody's going to get excited about all the stuff that's going on around that when it comes to the Toronto area next month. So busy summer, and of course we're all jacked up here because the CFL season is just around the corner, and nothing better to whet your appetite, get you ready than a little preseason ball here tonight. Just under 2 minutes to go before halftime. 6-6. Field goal kickers doing all the damage. And we have yet to see 32-yard convert yet tonight. Back to retrieve this punt is Nathan Slaughter. Brings it up near the 32-yard line. A 20-yard return for Slaughter.
Talked to both coaches about all these rule changes and you know the purpose of them, and they both are in support. Like the rule changes, like the chance that they can go up tempo if they want. We haven't talked about that one in particular. Jets, one of the mainstays in an offense led by Jeff Tedford is that high tempo, hurry up offense. Quarterbacks can now signal the official, and no substitutions are permitted.
4 receivers left, and over the middle. Moniz fires a strike to Dan Buckner.
Yeah, a similar throw where he had to step into pressure, and Moniz, this is maybe his best throw, not quite as long, and didn't have to put as much touch, but you can see there's pressure up front, good push by the D-line. He's got a guy on his back, and he finds a way to pull the trigger.
Buckner, the 25-year-old, was with Ottawa last season. He came over with Jasper Simmons in the trade for Maurice Price. Look out now. Moniz gets hammered. And a big defensive play by TJ Lee to knock that away. But Moniz just was able to get rid of the football and took a lick.
Now, TJ Lee cut underneath that and looked like he had a shot at it. But this is a good look at the difference in the rule there. TJ Lee just turned and ran with the receiver in that case. Playing with cushion.
Moniz stands in now, decides to get out, and picks up a couple yards on 2nd down and 10. As a former DB and safety, played the game at that position. How would you feel about these rules?
Well, you feel like it's a disadvantage, obviously, because this was a technique that every team used where you would catch the receiver at about 10, 12 yards, be physical with them, make them restart, and the quarterback had to pull the ball down, and he was getting hit by the defensive line. So now you can't do that. You got to use your feet, got to use your legs, your hips, get out of that back pedal quickly. I think we'll see some more zone defense as the season goes on than we saw last year. Defensive backs have to play with great technique now. That's the difference.
Different era, I'll tell you that, is Rob Maver back to kick for the second time. There's a penalty flag that was thrown immediately. And back to get it. Oh, hit hard. What a hit. Take that. Dexter Jank. Janky just levels the returner.
I wonder what that flag was. It came out almost before Maver had the football, and then there's your big hit.
Darius Lane, the wrong lane that time. Al Bradbury.
Procedure, illegal formation, no end, Calgary. That'll be a 5-yard penalty, re-kick.
So they'll re-kick. Talked earlier about Rob Maver. Remember that hit in the Grey Cup he took from Justin Hickman? Well, he had a concussion, obviously, after that, and it took a while to recover from that. And then lost about 15 to 20 pounds, got the flu down in Mexico, then came back a little bit later on another trip. Suffered some cellulitis in his kicking leg. His foot started swelling up, had some rib issues. It was like this tragic offseason for Rob Maver, but this is a guy who is an all-star punter and has been since he came into the Canadian Football League.
His career is 44.8. Last year, he was above that at 45.4. But that was some kind of hit in the Grey Cup he took.
There's a high kick. And dropping the football this time was Lane, and you wonder if the previous hit had a little bit to do with that.
No question.
And there's a penalty flag on the play back near the 22-yard line. So they put Lane back to get that kick again. This time he can't hang on. And, you know, it's only a preseason game, but for these guys, it's everything. It's future employment. Couple of plays in a row. You go check, check.
Penalty, first down.
Illegal block on the play, so it's a moot point. It sends it back near the 15-yard line for the Lions. Cover the football. 30 seconds to go before halftime. 6-6 game here tonight. What did you concentrate on in preseason? Now it's a little bit different than it was a few years ago.
Well, it was simple for me, Rod. In my rookie year, I couldn't get enough of the preseason. And back then, of course, we played 4 preseason games and had about 100 players in training camp, and it was about a month long. So it was very different, but I couldn't get enough of it. When you're a young player, these young players, first-year guys, rookies coming into the league, they want all they can get because it's a chance to make big plays and put something on tape. Maybe not even for the coach you're playing for now. It might be for another team if you get released.
Well, there are a lot of scouts here in all the preseason games, and they're looking.
But as a veteran, couldn't wait for this thing to get over. Let's get to the regular season.
Don't you kind of want to sit there with a drink with an umbrella on the sideline and just kind of go, okay, we'll see? Because it is such a different mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know about that far, but you do want to get out and get back into game action and start popping the pads again and get football speed back. But as a veteran, the veteran players here playing in this game, they want to get a few reps and get to the regular season and just don't risk injury and don't think about injury in the preseason, but kind of a necessary evil.
Well, you want to impress, you want to improve, but you want to be the most important thing, stay healthy. How many times have we seen careers or potential all-star seasons derailed because of something that goes astray in a preseason game?
Yeah, but, you know, I talked to both coaches, our guys that were former quarterbacks, and John Huffnagel, of course, offensive coordinator Dave Dickinson the same, and Jeff Tedford. Jeff Tedford and Kahari Jones, 2 former quarterbacks. They feel like the guys have to play. Now, Travis Lulay is in a different category, different situation with his injured shoulder, but these guys feel like you shouldn't be sitting your quarterbacks. They got to play a little bit in the first and the preseason games.
They'll just take the knee here, so the field goal kickers do all the scoring here in this first half. Jonathan Jennings looked pretty good, though. CFL preseason debut on Wendy's Friday Night Football as we send it back to Rod, Milt, and Schultze.
All right, Rod Black, thank you very much. Yes, live at the half, Wendy's Friday Night Football on a 6-6 tie, and as you had pointed out, it's about the kicker so far, but still not in that long convert, that field goal-like convert that we're waiting to see, the 32-yarder. But yeah, I mean, this is preseason ball. We had a couple of questions, one about the Lions quarterbacking situation, the other about these rule changes and how many penalties that we'd see. Well, we got some answers so far in this, Milt, about the Lions QBs. Travis Lulay not ready to play in this game. John Beck can't, so really a battle for third string, it would appear right now. Jonathan Jennings, I mean, and who knows if he's going to get a chance early in the season to start in a regular season game. What do you think?
Yeah, this may be their starting quarterback, and I know the fans in BC don't want to hear this, but you may be looking at your starting quarterback, and so far, I'm impressed. I know it's only preseason, but we're talking about a guy who's fresh out of college, who's playing his first CFL game, and he's looked pretty good. He's thrown for over 100 yards, 5 for 11, and he's been through everything. He's been sacked. He stayed in the pocket, didn't have happy feet. Most young guys, they get happy feet. He can't take a sack right here. He has to realize where he is and throw the ball away. But Schultze, I've been truly impressed with what he's done so far.
I've been impressed, and it was brought up by Rod Black and also Glenn Suter. He's going against the starting defense for the Calgary Stampeders. Usually, when you have a quarterback, young quarterback, he always goes against a third and fourth string. Not this time. If he's making a mistake, he's making mistakes against a good defense.
And what's even more impressive than the fact that he's thrown for over 100 yards is he hasn't thrown an interception. Most young guys, they want to get in there if they're trying to make the team, they're trying to start, and they want that big play. He's been very impressive. He's been patient, and I'm happy. I know they're happy with what they've seen so far.
Okay, so we got the first half. We expect to see Travis Partridge, who was around last year, also Greg McGee at quarterback for the Lions in the second half. The rules now. You said you don't want to see a whole lot of punting, but with punting, you get a chance to see how these new rules are going to manifest themselves. Overall, what did you think?
I like it. I like it a lot, but also understand that it's just the basics of route running, because you're going to see a couple plays that are simple down and outs and down and in type of patterns. But what I want you to watch is notice that if on here, on this route, down and out, good separation, what if it's a down, out, and up? This is where it really gets dangerous for the defensive backs. The down and in, that's now. You got to close at 100 miles an hour, and that's where sometimes the defensive backs will grab you. But if you go down, out, or down, in, and up, that separation will be automatic. The shotgun snaps for both teams have been dreadful. And how about our guy, Al Bradbury? Is my imagination?
Yes.
Or everything has got a different pace to the penalties.
I was going to say, that's one change we didn't talk about before, and so far, I mean, that has been refreshing to see.
That down and out and down and in, that's an out route and an in route, Chills.
No, it was a down and out and a down.
No one says that.
Going towards the inside of the football field.
But you know what that rule is, what's going to happen? We're going to see a different type of player in the CFL.
Eventually.
We're going to see a less physical player, and as far as a receiver goes, you know, those big, bulky receivers who want to push off, that receiver is eliminated now. We're going to see a different type of receiver and a different type of DB in the CFL because of these rules. It's going to be higher scoring, but there are going to be some changes as far as personnel goes.
As for the Stamps at QB, we saw a limited amount of Bo Levi Mitchell. No surprise there. No Drew Tate. Right to Bryant Moniz, who's played a lot in the first half as well. And a lot more to come up from players getting a taste of CFL football in the second half of this preseason tilt. Coming up, we'll have more on this. Also, the Michael Sam story, leaving Alouettes training camp for personal reasons today. Friday Night Football on TSN. At the half in Calgary, Lions 6, Stampeders 6. Here's Schultze with the stats.
Hey, Rod, typical numbers for a CFL exhibition game. 116 passing yards, very nice for the Lions. But look at the quarterback stats. Sacks, they have to improve because pass protection is everything with these new rules. That's the number one thing. Going into the second half, make it clean in terms of protecting your quarterback.
Bo Levi Mitchell's day ended pretty early as expected. Here he is now with Catherine Dolan.
Well, Bo, we knew coming into this game that we weren't going to see a lot of you. But in the half that you've seen so far in this preseason, what do you think of your offense so far?
Man, I think we're looking good as far as moving the ball, make sure we're moving the chains. That's the biggest thing. Right now, we got to make sure we're getting first downs and cutting out mistakes. I think we're not seeing a couple of blitzes right now, and these young receivers kind of need to pick it up, make sure they see those.
Speaking of young receivers, your brother is 27. He is your older brother, Corey. I know he wants to get his professional career started. What do you think in terms of what you've seen from him so far, knowing that you don't want to favor him in any way?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a difficult situation. It's hard not to favor your brother. But right now, we're not even in the same huddles. So y'all just make sure that him and the guys all in his position, and really all the young guys, they all know what they're doing. Right now, it's about the Stampeders looking good, and that's what I'm worried about.
Great. Thanks, Bo.
Awesome. Thank you.
But brother or not, it is a time for the subs to get more of a chance to make the team and make an impression. The coaching staff for both the Stamps and the Lions in this preseason game. Second half is coming up. We'll have more on Wendy's Friday Night Football.
Do you find yourself second-guessing things you've done later on?
100%. Yeah, all the time. What could I have done better? What decision could I have made better? And even the ones that work out well, you're always trying to analyze, even though that the success was there, could we have done something even better? Because you're always trying to constantly improve. And so, yeah, I mean, I do.
So you think about a coach and with what Ken is saying, your worst enemy is the mirror.
Yeah.
That mirror never talks kindly to you. It really doesn't.
That's right.
Had a lot of fun in those conversations. First the GMs and then the coaches. Episode 2, Around the Table. That is coming up a little later on, 12:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, Saturday night.
I'm just excited to be here. I'm focused on Montreal. I'm here now, and whatever happens in the future, happens in the future, but I'm here to help this team win games. I'm not trying to really do anything historic here by being with Montreal, just trying to help the team win some games so we can bring the Grey Cup back home.
Michael Sam in the news again today. You may recall a star at Missouri, the SEC Player of the Year a few years ago. He made headlines last year, the first openly gay player to be drafted in the NFL, and then signed on last month a 2-year deal with the Montreal Alouettes. Suddenly today, Sam left camp and went home. They are citing personal reasons as to why. Nothing more than that, but the Alouettes remain very supportive of Sam. It is still very unclear, though, if and when he will return to Montreal. This is RDS's Alouette reporter, Didier Ormajust, earlier today on SportsCenter.
We don't know. All the Alouettes have said in their press release that it was for personal reasons, but Sam wasn't having a good camp. He struggled during his one-on-one pass rush drills. He didn't seem really athletic. We all know his 40 time, he ran a 4.9. So is it perhaps because the reality of the CFL game hit him straight in the face? Because a lot of American players, when they come up here to play in the CFL, sometimes they think that the level of competition is a lower level. Perhaps he realized how high the level of competition is. But again, the Alouette statement said that he left for personal reason and that the door is still open to come back. But in my opinion, I think we've seen the last of Michael Sam here with the Montreal Alouettes.
That was RDS's Didier Ormajust. Schultze, do you agree with him?
Well, I think Didier, he nailed it early in his report, saying Michael Sam's had no indication that he was dominant in his one-on-one pass rush technique. You would have to ask Jeff Parrott and Josh Burke, how is he as a player? Because the expectations is that he was coming there and he would be a terror, and he was in a transition, and he wasn't anywhere near a dominant player. Now, I understand the personal issues, but still there is always the conversation that sometimes, quite often, people disregard the quality of the player that's in the Canadian Football League.
Yes. Well, first of all, we want to make sure that everything is okay. We hope and pray that everything is okay. But like it was noted, you know, many Americans, and when I came up, I thought the same thing, and I wasn't even a superstar. I thought I was going to come up here and dominate. This is a very different game, no matter how much success you had in NFL or in college. And he played in SEC, which is the most competitive football conference in college football. This is a different game, and you have to get used to it. And personally, I don't know if he's good enough to be a superstar or even make the team in the CFL. I mean, hopefully he can come back and show us something, but if I was a betting man, I don't know.
Bottom line is this: the Alouettes said in a statement that the door is open for Michael Sam to return, but it certainly didn't sound like it would be happening anytime soon, I should say, if it happens at all. We have much more coming up. And Wendy's Friday Night Football at the half at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. It is the Stamps and the Lions tied up at 6 apiece. Back with more in the second half kickoff coming up.
It's Friday Night Football, yeah!
Wendy's Friday Night Football tonight on TSN and down south on ESPN3 in Columbus, Ohio. They're probably watching Jonathan Jennings, who made his CFL preseason debut in the first half. 6-6 the score. Here is John Jennings with Catherine Dolan.
John, your first half of preseason play in a CFL game. How would you assess how things went for you so far?
They went decent. It was exciting and it was fast tempo. You know, it was a lot different from practice, but it's good to get out there, good to get hit again, and you know, just excited about getting better.
Speaking of being excited, what sort of adjustments have you found to be the biggest challenge for you coming up and playing in the CFL?
Really getting used to that 12th man, you know, understanding defenses and understanding how the offense works as well. It's all different from what I'm used to, but getting acquainted with that stuff and, you know, just getting accustomed to it.
Great. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Jonathan Jennings for Jeff Tedford, a former quarterback in the Canadian Football League, a guy who has groomed quarterbacks into great NFL players as well. And his first game as a CFL coach, a preseason game. How do you think he evaluated Jonathan Jennings' performance?
I thought real good first quarter. Second quarter not quite as good, but generally a good start for him.
Stopped dead in his tracks at the 25-yard line. It's Damian Thigpen, UCLA. And now John Jennings gives way to Travis Partridge. Last we saw Travis Partridge was in the East Division semifinal. The crossover, of course, when BC got shellacked by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Jennings came in place of Kevin Glenn at the time. I think that Partridge came in 7 of 11. Late in the game and a touchdown pass as well. Partridge has been on the roster last season for the BC Lions. Over to Terrence Jeffers-Harris on the far sideline.
Yeah, you expect to see some confidence, you know, playing with a sense of urgency for Travis Partridge, playing with a purpose, you know, out there not just running plays and trying to survive.
Especially
like young
after
quarterbacks
seeing
do.
what Jonathan Jennings did.
Exactly. After seeing a pretty good first quarter from Jonathan Jennings, good second half. He had over 100 yards passing. He's got to come out and set himself and establish himself quickly here.
Again, this is audition time for jobs for the Lions. Partridge slinging it out, and it is almost picked off. It is picked off. Thought for a moment he dropped the football. He did not. County Evans, number 72. It's a strange number for a DB, but
Milt Stiegel mentioned that Jonathan Jennings in his first half did not throw an interception. Often you see that from young players making their debut. They try to force it in there, and the guy who was around BC's camp last year, Travis Partridge, and in his first series comes out and throws one to Evans.
Evans out of Nebraska. Now, interesting moment here and a great moment for this young man, Andrew Buckley, the last player selected in this year's draft. Heck Crichton Trophy winner, Canadian quarterback who knows this stadium well, played with the Calgary Dinos. Wears number 0, gets a chance to play here. First CFL test, first CFL completion. And down near the 40-yard line to Lamar Durant.
Another draft pick, but in the second round in another story. But let's stick with Buckley for a second. Andrew Buckley with the first throw in the Canadian Football League field. Throws it out there to Durant, a 14-yard gain. Get a little confidence, good for him. Coaches talked highly of Andrew Buckley. They know they're kind of looking at him differently because he's going back to school, likely.
Well, always the debate, and it rages, of course, in preseason play when we see a Canadian. When will the next great Canadian quarterback come around? As Slaughter made the catch there. 2 for 2 is Andrew Buckley, 62nd overall.
And his first throw and a completion was to a fellow draft choice, Lamar Durant out of SFU. But it's a great discussion, Rod, about when will the next great Canadian quarterback start in the CFL.
Buckley, pump fake. Can he make it 3 for 3? Throws into traffic. Well, they might have thought they had the great Canadian quarterback here. Another Heck Crichton Trophy winner, Brad Sinopoli, who was here but became a receiver, and that happens at time to time. Sinopoli has moved on, of course, with the Ottawa Red Blacks.
And there's Andrew Buckley showing a little bit of his youth and lack of experience. Didn't even count the safety, Chris Wabakamba, in that throw. Dave Dickinson explaining to them, remember, you got to look the safety, try and freeze him. Don't let him fly over there and get involved in the play. Wabakamba almost picked that off.
Well, here's another CIS star, Tyler Crapigna. It's his second shot with the Stampeders in camp. Crapigna, former McMaster Marauder, puts it through. And remember, last year in a preseason game, Crapigna hit the game winner to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Great young kicker, won the Vanier Cup from the Marauders a few years ago. And so the Stampeders surge in front, 9-6 on a night for the Kickers. Football fans in Northern Alberta excited about what's coming up in Fort McMurray. Eskimos Rough Riders tomorrow, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific time. It's a preseason game. We'll have a regular season game to open up the season as well. Great looking stadium up in Fort Mac, so looking forward to seeing that one tomorrow night. Some preseason action tonight here in Calgary. The Stampeders have a 9-6 lead. Rene Paredes, a pair of field goals. Tyler Crapigna just put one through, so the field goal kicker's getting a workout here tonight. Crapigna's second camp with the Stampeders, former 5th round pick. He is the CIS record holder when he was at MAC, 84 career field goals. That is a new record. As he boots it down. Back to get it once again, trying to pick his way up is Brendan Bigelow. 21-yard return up near the 30-yard line. Bringing out Travis Partridge again. Again, Travis Lulay is here. The Travis the Lions would love to see is Lulay, of course, but nursing that shoulder injury, trying to get it healthy again, trying to get back to the form that made him the most outstanding player back in 2011. Pistol formation for Partridge now. Going to see a lot of the second team players, third team players here in this second half as Terrence Jeffers Harris has nowhere to go. Royce Adams.
Well, because of the injury to Travis Lulay, as you mentioned, that occurred again on the same shoulder in Ottawa last year. And he just lost the handle. It was a wet game, a lot of rain, ball was heavier. I talked to him about when he left the field that night. It was a pretty emotional night for him. But he's worked his way back. He's very confident he'll be ready.
Great players. Partridge is swarmed and sacked. DeQuinn Evans, that's another one for him here tonight. 4th sack from the Calgary Stampeders, and it'll make the Lions kick the football away. DeQuinn Evans of Kentucky. A guy who didn't start playing football till he went to college. It's unbelievable.
Well, it happens. I mean, it happens up here in Canada. You play your first football usually as a senior in high school or your last 2 years of high school and then into college. You don't start when you're 8 like hockey in Canada.
Well, now.
Or even earlier. Sometimes in hockey it's 4 or 5.
2. Yeah. Derek Joseph bringing it back. We're going to see more from the former Calgary Dino. Current Calgary Dino too, Andrew Buckley, after this. 21-year-old Andrew Buckley, the Calgary native, Calgary Dino, getting some reps here at quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders. Preseason game here tonight.
You know, all the reports out of the Calgary camp was that this kid didn't look out of place at all in training camp.
Hand off right side. Keith Toston, who spent some time with the Saskatchewan Roughriders last year out of Oklahoma State.
Meanwhile, the BC Lions, Rod, have a couple decisions to make, and there's a real competition going into the safety position between Chris Wabakamba and Keenan Parker, the SFU grad, originally drafted by the Montreal Alouettes. J.R. LaRose is no longer with the Lions. He's been the safety over the last few years, and they're trying to see who's going to win that job. They need to have a non-import or a national playing in that position.
Buckley dances now, and what a catch. Leaping high was Bo Levi Mitchell's brother, Corey Mitchell, out of Eastern Washington. He's actually older than Bo Levi Mitchell, but
nice
Corey
catch.
Mitchell, who also is out of Katy, Texas, of course, famous for Friday Night Lights. They never had a chance to play in Katy, Texas in high school, because when Corey was going to be playing, Andy Dalton was the quarterback, as a matter of fact, for that team, and Bo Levi Mitchell at the high school level. Bo was going to come up, and then Corey got into some academic issues at the school and was dismissed from the team.
BC, number 92.
And so
5-yard penalty.
They never were able to hook up until they got to college in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, played 2 years together there, and you know, this would be a great story, right?
Could you imagine?
First thing you ask is, it reminds you back to the Flutie brothers, Doug and Darren playing together. If Corey can make the roster, and that's what he's got to do, and you know that Bo Levi would love to try and favor him and help him there, but as he mentioned in the interview, they're not even in the same huddle in practice right now.
Well, maybe someday, who knows, as Toston gets the handoff up the gut, but it is a terrific story. And
I asked John Huffnagel, I said, so how's he doing? Because obviously we'd love to see if the brother could make the team and this becomes sort of a magic connection between the Mitchell brothers. And he said, you know, we have asked Corey to play the most difficult receiver position on our roster. It's the one that you have to know everybody's job. You've got a lot of different types of assignments, a lot of different motions, and he has picked it up immediately. A very cerebral, smart player. Said he's working his way up the depth chart. Interesting.
Buckley stands in, delivers another strike. Once again to Dan Buckner, the ex-Ottawa Red Black.
Now Don, our director down in the truck, had a great idea.
What's that?
She
has a lot of great ideas.
If it's Bo Levi Mitchell,
yes.
Why is it just Corey Mitchell? Doesn't Corey need that cool middle name?
I know where you're going here.
So her thought was Corey Wrangler Mitchell. So we got Bo Levi Mitchell and Corey Wrangler.
The blue jean possibilities. Well, there's a funny story about their names too. The football-loving family.
Oh, wrong way.
Miscommunication. It's going to work out though for Buckley.
Yeah, see, I like that. Now let's show that again. That's Andrew Buckley. It didn't work out, and you've got to improvise now. Young kid, you don't get the big eyes like deer in the headlights, and Buckley just calmly turns around and goes to another option. Either he turned the wrong way or the running back went the wrong way. Either way, successful play because he kept his composure.
To Nathan Slaughter, and maybe being familiar here, this ball's coming back, though. There's a penalty against the Stamps.
Blocking downfield before a pass is caught. Calgary, number 46, 10-yard penalty.
Yeah.
Remains first down.
But I like the poise. I mean, he didn't give up on the play, and Buckley just kind of turns around and gets something done with it. But this was designed to be a running play, so all the blocking's going downfield, and one of the two players went the wrong way.
First and 20 now from the 31-yard line. Buckley steps up, pitches it out. Once again gives it to Toston. So back to the Mitchell brothers story, because it is quite fascinating. So Bo is named, as many CFL fans know, after Bo Jackson, a baseball/football
and
player.
Bo does know winning as well.
Yes, he does. And his middle name, Levi, is actually his granddad's. name, a tribute to his great-granddad. And parents, I believe, loved baseball players, and all of his brothers are named after famous baseball players. So we'll have to talk to Corey about who that famous baseball player that they like.
But it's a baseball player somewhere.
Buckley now. Not sure if he was over that line of scrimmage as he came back and tried to throw that away on a broken play. So once again, Tyler Crapina is going to come out here.
You can tell that Andrew Buckley's been well coached. I mean, you take a look at how his form, he's got the ball up high, ready to go. He's got his eyes downfield. You know, he stumbles a little bit here and tries to make something happen by just kind of sidearming in it. But I like his technique. He's got the ball up where it's supposed to be in a good release position. Showed some nice composure in that drive. It was a pretty good drive.
Well, Buckley, part of a good quarterbacking crew and good team here the last few years under Blake Nill.
5 for 7 on that drive.
Wow, 5 for 7 for him. Crapina 2 for 2 tonight, makes it 12-6. Kicker night here at McMahon Stadium. A shout out to one of the greatest CFLers of all time, certainly one of the greatest kickers, Louis Passaglia. Sunday, June 14th, this coming Sunday, Jericho Beach in Vancouver. Louis Passaglia's Push for Your Tush walk run to fight colon cancer. Registration 9 a.m. Walk run at 10:15 a.m. It's a toddler walk and a run. All the information there. Good for Louis. Helping fight the fight. Travis Partridge hands off up the middle. And it looked like a loose football, but they got it back. There it is.
Starting to see some more substitutions from both teams, of course, but the concerns for the BC Lions, the offensive line.
Damian Thigpen, last carrier. You know, the Lions flatlined last season, 9-9, were able to cross over and again lost to Montreal in the East Division semifinal. 5.5 to go here, third quarter. Partridge. But you know, with all the changes in the last couple of years in BC, it seems like they're so far removed from that Grey Cup winning team and the powerhouse that they seem to have assembled over the last few years. What's it going to take to get back to that level again?
Well, there's a huge question mark hanging over Travis Lulay and whether or not he will be ready to go game 1 of the regular season. That's still up in the air a little bit. Can Jeff Tedford find a guy that can buy Lulay some time? Maybe Jonathan Jennings. Maybe John Beck, who's back in Vancouver.
Back to get the kick. Greg Wilson has handled it and got back it, but there's a penalty flag down. No yards on the play. 49-yard kick. 5 minutes to go, third quarter. 12-6 Calgary. Preseason football for McMahon. CFL's all-time winningest coach. I think you still want to call him coach from time to time. I guess you can kind of call him the commander-in-chief, really, of the BC Lions. General manager Wally Buono.
I still call him coach every time I see him. There's no question. I don't think that'll ever go away. But, you know, he had a real tough decision to make. He had to let go a great football coach in Mike Benavides, try and shake things up for this organization. They're rebuilding in a lot of spots. He's familiar with Jeff Tedford. They worked together before in the Canadian Football League. Obviously impressed with Tedford's resume. By the way, Mike Benavides will be back coaching before long. You can bet on that. And in the meantime, he will join our team.
He has sunk to the lowest common denominator.
He'll join our team at TSN this year. It's great to have Benny on board. But that's a tough decision because for Wally Buono, that's a good friend and a good coach that he had to let go. But he needed to do something to shake this organization, this team up. And he hopes that Jeff Tedford can get it done.
Dominic Davis is back in. As Harrison goes left side and was tripped up, there's a penalty flag. How tough of a decision do you think it was as well for the Paul McCallum? You know, a guy who's, you know, one of their greatest players of all time in BC and did so many great things. And is this maybe just thinking of the football team outside the box and the fact that maybe he wants to have one kicker, someone who can do both of the kicking and the punting, all three, kicking, punting, and kickoffs.
10-yard penalty.
Every coach and general manager would love to have that. I mean, it opens up a roster spot for another linebacker, another returner, receiver. You know, Paul McCallum was asked by the Lions organization if he would like to retire as a BC Lion, and McCallum said he's not ready to retire. So if they were going to go in another direction, that they were going to have to cut him. So yeah, difficult, but it happens to every player. And I don't think Paul McCallum is done playing football yet.
45 years young, still 90% kicker. He had the best percentage last year in the CFL. Once again, making the move is Torrey Harrison. This was what Paul McCallum tweeted out June 6th. I don't usually do this, but I want to be very clear. I did not ask to be released. I was told to retire or I would be cut.
Yeah, and he basically said, you're going to have to cut me loose because I want to continue. I don't want to retire. And you understand that. You know, I mean, Paul McCallum wants to continue playing, feels like he still can contribute as a field goal kicker. His punting days are behind him. But as a field goal kicker, you mentioned that percentage is the best in the league last year.
Davis dumping it off again. This has been all Torrey Harrison on this drive with Dominic Davis up near the 41. They had to get to the 42-yard line for the first down. So very close here.
You know what's going to happen. I don't think that Paul McCallum probably goes to a team in the next 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. But you know how this works. I mean, look at the career points.
Someone's going to struggle.
Louis Pasega. Someone will struggle, or there'll be a groin or a quad injury for a kicker out of the gate, and they'll bring in Paul McCallum to take a look.
And think about the dynamics this year of how different it is for kickers, and a kicker that could struggle not only on field goals, but extra points. You know?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, there's even Jeff Tedford. He's going to be dealing with 2 young kickers. I mean, now, obviously, the ship sailed with the BC Lions, but coaches with young kickers for sure are going to be evaluating them at the beginning of the season, and if any one of them falter, the call will be out there to Paul McCallum.
Davis, shotgun, high toss on the far side. And Schultz loves this conversation in the studio because he loves kickers so much. But, you know, one of the things is not as dismissive, and never were kickers being dismissed, but they always came down, you love them when they make the game-winning field goal, but sometimes you have a tendency to ignore them in the grand scheme of the violent collisions of football.
Yeah.
But they are very, very important parts of your team.
Hey, listen, especially in the Canadian Football League where, you know, you're going the special teams, the unique rules in the teams, and the rule change also affects punting and how the punters kick the ball this year.
Here's the rush now. Davis is in trouble, and he's going down. Going down. Zach Minter was there first. Also in on the play, number 53, Alex Bazzi. Had a terrific season last year, 10 sacks for the BC Lions. His debut season, and Bazzi got to him along with Minter. What a great season he had.
Yeah, and Tedford right now is trying to find who will be his 2 interior defensive linemen. He's got Kareem Smith, Alex Bazzi off the edge, and Jabbar Westerman, who probably will have to figure in as a starter to balance the Canadian ratio, but Alex Bazzi's in there. He's got his spot after 10 sacks his rookie season.
What a breakout year. Only Cam Wake and Mike Gray had 10 or more sacks in their rookie seasons. They had great careers.
Yeah, you think? And Cam Wake's is still going on in the
Calgary,
National Football League.
Number 6, 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Rob Maver taking the time count. It's going to be very interesting to watch the rules play out this year, and if coaches devise ways to bend them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, always. How to push that and stretch that elastic. Once you know where the parameters are, you push the limits.
A minute 43 left, 3rd quarter. Maver puts his leg into it. There is Tim Vizzi. Well, a reminder I guess on a night where kickers are doing all the scoring, we could talk some soccer. FIFA Women's World Cup tomorrow. TSN, France, Colombia, England, Mexico, Brazil, Spain, Korea, Republic against Costa Rica on CTV and the TSN networks. Our TSN feeds. Enjoy it tomorrow, the FIFA World Cup on TSN and CTV. Here's Greg McGee now, the lefty, comes in out of Howard, former Bison, a guy who is no more for his scampering ability than his throwing ability. He could really run the football.
Yeah, he can, but, you know, over 10,000 total yards offensively in college, 2,500 plus yards rushing the ball. So that was definitely his strength. Got a strong arm.
2nd and 10. Now, screen pass here to Bigelow.
You know, and I say that, and I know there's probably some fans thinking, well, don't they all have strong arms? If they're at the pro level, they don't. They should, but that's not the case all the time. I mean, you have those touch passers that throw on time. A guy like our current head coach, John Huffnagel, was more of a touch passer. So was Dave Dickinson, accurate timing thrower, threw to spots on the field, didn't necessarily really gun it in. Travis Lulay does have a strong arm when he's completely healthy. Greg McGee's got a strong arm as a lefty.
3rd 2 and out, no yards here on this play. Under 30 to go in this 3rd quarter. One more preseason game for both of these teams, and then the regular season begins late June and into July for BC. They will start the season July 4th in Ottawa.
No yards. BC, number 45, 15-yard penalty, first down.
What a way to kick off the season for the Calgary Stampeders and CFL fans. On June 26th, they take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, a rematch of the Grey Cup.
We're going to talk about these quarterbacks for the BC Lions, and Greg McGee, Travis Partridge, Jonathan Jennings. They have the luxury of working with a head coach that has worked with some pretty good football players. And
you think?
I'll circle that guy right there just to get started. But, you know, it almost is mandatory now that every team have at least a quarterback coach. A lot of them are head coaches. You got Huffnagel on one sideline, Jeff Tedford on the other.
Davis tucks it and takes it. Good play action that time.
Kent Austin in Hamilton, Rod. That, again, a guy that understands the position. You know, not just as a coordinator that sort of played in high school and became a coach and became a great coach, but a guy who's been out there at the pro level in this game in the CFL with all the motions and all the different types of rules and advantages and edges and angles that you can get on a Canadian Football League size field. Crucial to have a quarterback coach to work with these guys. By the way, we haven't mentioned, and I think it's important, John Huffnagel earlier in the offseason announced that this will be his last season as the head coach.
And another quarterback, ex-quarterback, will be taking over.
He will move in as become the general manager, much like Wally Buono did in BC. So the swan song on the sideline for one of the winningest coaches in the shortest amount of time, and Dave Dickinson
is the next guy.
Is the next up.
You know, when you watched him play, you just knew Dave Dickinson was going to be a coach of some kind somewhere down the road. A guy whose career was shortened because of injury. 2nd down and 2. Clock ticks down to zeros here, 3rd quarter. Looking for Harrison again. Torrey Harrison with a 1st down. So Calgary will keep moving the football when we come back. That's 3 quarters complete in this preseason tilt here tonight at McMahon Stadium. Seen a lot of the youngsters, some of the rookies. We have yet to see a touchdown. Maybe in the 4th. Well, normally in a preseason game, you play 3 quarters or an entire game, you get an idea maybe there's a star out there, somebody bursting out in the spotlight, taking over a game.
Not so much.
The kickers have been doing it tonight.
Well, not so much tonight as far as a receiver or running back really making an impact. Again, I think Jonathan Jennings for the BC Lions had a good first half for them. And there's, a chance that potentially he could be a player. Other than that, I haven't really seen a receiver make a statement in this game. We've got a quarter to play, so maybe we'll see more in the fourth. Keep in mind when you saw those 17 first downs for the Calgary Stampeders, starting quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell had 5 of them in one drive.
The first drive.
A 13-play drive to start this game.
Well, again, for many of these players, this is all so brand new. And Dominic Davis was asked, what's different coming up to the Canadian Football League? He had one word: everything. But he's trying to acclimatize himself and find out a little bit more about the nuances of the game. He's looked pretty composed so far. Now will somebody be able to bust a play here and find the way to the highlight reel in a preseason action? Second down, 1 yard to go. 12-6 Stampeders. Davis turns, goes the other way. And cutting inside is Joseph. Derek Joseph, again out of Towson. Joseph making amends early in the game, had a couple of drops, penalty against him. So, again, if you do something on the wrong side of the ledger early in the ball game, you better make up for it later in the ball game.
Oh, no question. Obviously, making the big play gets you noticed, but it's also consistency. The coaches want to see that you can translate good practice habits to good and consistent game habits. And if you have some issues early like Joseph did, boy, you better bounce back.
Davis gets pushed back, but it looks like progression gave him the first down.
If you don't bounce back from some early mistakes in the preseason, the coach comes to you the next day and says, would you like a window or an aisle?
and that's how cruel it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, it can even be crueler when you get hurt. You get hurt, if it's not in your contract, expenses are paid for, and
the medical expenses
and
cut you loose.
That's it. But that's the game, and they all know it.
Talked about the receivers, Calgary Stampeders. John Huffnagel's going to have to get rid of 3 or 4, probably keep 10 or 11 on the roster. Get some good guys cut loose.
Which might be good for some other teams. Davis had to hurry, and he made the toss on the far side, and hauling it in is Cedric Cunningham. Well, under duress, Dominic Davis with the completion for a 6-yard pickup. A bad snap.
Yeah, he had to go down and pick the ball up off the turf. I love the closing speed from Keenan Parker. He battles with Chris Rabakamba for the safety spot.
Well, that's what they might find tonight, and they go back, look over the film, is some of the defensive players in a game that has been highly defensive for the most part, trying to solve their puzzles. Pitch, bashing, close to a first down, and getting it is Keith Toston, Oklahoma State running back. They won game with Saskatchewan last year. In that game, at a 41-yard carry from green and white to red and white.
6 carries last year with Saskatchewan for 72 yards. He had a big one up the middle. It didn't get much playing time. The coach of that team is the now offensive coordinator for the BC Lions in George Cortez. Went with Anthony Allen last year in Saskatchewan at running back.
Chatted with George before the game and was saying, I'm collecting a lot of different colored coaching shirts the last few years. But that tells you a lot about the respect that George Cortez has and the offensive mind that he has through the years, has been throughout this league from coast to coast, devising ways to beat defenses. Jamarcus McFarland out of Oklahoma. injured Lion. Getting close to the red zone here. Early fourth quarter, 12-6 Stampeders. Dominic Davis, good play action.
What a move.
And now goes end zone touchdown. Greg Wilson hauls it in. Penalty flag at the goal line on a great play action pass. We were waiting for it. We got it. Our first major score.
There's no infraction on the play. Touchdown.
And now, unless they go for two, we're going to see our first 32-yard point after.
Greg Wilson runs a beautiful out and up down the sideline. A great example of the new rule changes. Watch Wilson. He usually would get jammed on that little break. Now you can't touch him. He runs that little shift, goes down the sideline. What a move in the open field. 24-yard touchdown, the first major of this game. That's nice route running.
And
they talked about Greg Wilson.
They did, and they like him even more now. They go for two. Davis, and bringing it in for the two-point convert.
See, there you go. Two great examples right there of how the rule changes may impact the game this year.
Charlie Power, that's the University of Saskatchewan. Former fourth-round pick back in 2013. Only played 2 games last year, but Power into the end zone for the two-point convert. So we finally have our first major and 2 added on. 20-6 Stamps.
Great route running there by Greg Wilson and taking advantage of the new rules. Let me show you. The new rules state that now you can only jam in this area 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. Look at Alex Tillman, the corner, playing outside of that zone. Now, last year when Greg Wilson made his move and he came up and he made this little jag step right here, he would be jammed and rerouted. Now there's a cushion in between him. He's got room to move, room to operate, get around the outside. Now Alex Tillman's got to turn his hips and catch him. That's a great example of how the rule change should open up the game.
Boy, that's tough to be a DB in that situation, a cornerback in that situation.
Got to play with great feet and hips. Use that cushion and turn with the receiver and run with him.
They are loving Greg Wilson right now in Calgary. Again, had a touchdown in a mock-up game the other day, and in his first preseason game, as Bigelow brings it up to the 30, has a touchdown. Last time that Greg Wilson was catching footballs, they were from Peyton Manning. Before the AFC Championship game, he was on the practice roster getting ready for that. And then he makes his way to Calgary, and John Huffnagel may have found himself a good receiver. How about this, though?
The first guy you mentioned to me, by the way, was Greg Wilson. I said, what player should I be looking at? He said, Greg Wilson.
How about we were looking for the guy who's got the big numbers tonight? How about Dominic Davis?
9 of 10, 75 and a TD.
Not too shabby. 20-6 Stamps. We've got a touchdown. Now can BC reply? Here goes Greg McGee. McGee gets some blocking help. Nice block there, and he scoots out left side for a big gain and a first down. 22-yard pickup from Greg McGee.
Well, there you go. There's that running ability we talked about earlier. He can take off and go over 2,500 yards in college running the football at Howard, and he shows you how he's got some moves in the open field. Good speed, outran some angles.
This time, that left-handed toss outside to Tim Vizzy. Now, Vizzy, when Jeff Tedward was talking before the ball game, was mentioning Vizzy a little bit and said that, you know, that Kahari Jones was actually mentioning Vizzy as well. Kahari Jones was saying, hey, you know, this guy could be very similar to Weston Dressler.
Well, he said, when I watch Tim Vizzy in practice and he makes a big catch and he does it every practice, I think that's Dressler. I'm watching Weston Dressler play. Now that's we're not comparing it. Yeah,
no.
We're not comparing him.
There he is on the top of your screen, and they hand it off. mean, that's a compliment, especially with what Drexler has done.
Vissy's got to make the team first. I mean, he's got to make the team. He's got to get in the starting lineup.
He's got to put his shoulder pad in his jersey.
Then he's got to accomplish thousands of yards before he's compared to Weston Drexler. But his running style and how he operates, his moves in the open field. I quickly met him in the hallway before the game, introduced myself. He knew our entire TSN crew. He said really excited to play. He's obviously studied up. Coaching staff in BC really like him.
Well, a lot of the games and now every game broadcast in the States as well. Hello to all those watching on ESPN 3 tonight. McGee running again off that wrong foot as a left-hander. And catching him was Brandon Boudreau, the former Hamilton Tiger Cat. Also spent time with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Out of Troy, Brandon Boudreau trying to make the Calgary Stampeder team this year.
Yeah, left-handed quarterback rolling to his right. That's the tough one. And then when he went to throw the football, then pulled it back down, he lost a little momentum and got caught from behind by Brandon Boudreau.
And lost yardage, so a sack. That's Calgary's 5th sack of the night. 2nd down. A little more than 10 yards to go. Here comes the rush again. There's a penalty flag, and Bigelow gets chopped down on the corner by number 77, Brandon Harper. See what this penalty is with 8.5 to go.
Offside. Calgary, number 98. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
So 2nd down and just a little more than 5 yards to go.
Al Bradbury makes that call there, and I've noticed the pace of this game when it comes to penalty calls and announcements. See that headset that Al Bradbury's wearing? That's new this year for the officials. They'll be able to communicate.
Get it rolling, keep it rolling all the time. Lions want to roll here. McGee fires a bullet to the 40. And grabbing Vizzy. Close to a 1st down. Joe Burnett, former Edmonton Eskimo, in the Stampeder preseason lineup.
Yeah, trying to crack this lineup, and that's a tough secondary. Fred Bennett, Jamar Wall, Brandon Smith.
Former Pittsburgh Steeler draft pick. Remember, Joe Burnett had an all-star season a few years ago. He was one of the mainstays in Edmonton.
BC, number 59. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
So it's going to be 3rd and about 2. And now it's 3rd and 8. It's 3rd and 3 now, 3rd and 8. But they're going to go for it. Normally in a regular season game, you would boot this. Preseason, you're going to get your offense some momentum here. And McGee changes the play here. Comes up firing again. Or will he? Now he takes off. He's hit at the 40, lunging forward. And not sure. It looks like he had to get to the 38. And don't think that spot's going to be good enough. No, he's.
Nope.
Well, they're going to bring the. It looks like. Nope, that's it. They're not going to bring the yardage markers out. They're going to give the ball to Calgary. BC turns it over on downs. Last time they touched the ball, they did this. Greg Wilson, his first touchdown in Canada in the preseason. NBA Finals continues Sunday. Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Cavaliers locked at 2 apiece. Game 5 to the West Coast. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. You're watching that? Terrific series. Both that and the Stanley Cup Final.
I'm watching women's soccer right now. Okay.
And I do not blame you.
Okay. I'm just saying.
We're in Canada.
I know there's other
World Cup.
I know there's other playoff stuff going on.
That's, you know what? You watch anything to do with football.
I'm watching.
That's what you
soccer.
are. You are Mr. Football.
Got it.
Under 7 to go here. Andrew Buckley back in at quarterback. Tostin on the ground. They can't bring him down. Keith Tostin, nice job up near the 50-yard line, an 11-yard pickup.
You know, it's tough for an import or international player to crack the lineup with the Calgary Stampeders as a tailback because John Cornish, of course, is the starter out of Kansas, although he is a national player, and Matt Walter has to back him up because you need another Canadian behind John Cornish. So difficult, but Jock Sanders did it last year, and see if Tossin can get it done this year and try and crack the lineup, maybe get some reps back there if John Cornish isn't available.
Oh, what a hit. And hanging on to the football. Alex Tillman.
All right.
Almost slaughtered Nathan Slaughter.
All right, football is back. Here we go.
Yes.
We're back in now. We just needed, you know, this is what they talk about. Want to get out there and get hit again.
Whoa.
You know, and everyone who thought that the new rule for defensive backs was going to take the physical play out of it for DBs,
not so
don't
much.
worry, they can still hit.
Well, I think if you're a DB and you know you get beat like that and you can't jam anymore, maybe that increases the ferocity a little bit, if you know what I'm saying, when you got an open lick. And he had one.
Good, clean hit from Alex Tillman. Kept his head out of it, led with his face mask and his shoulder pads. Nice hit on Nathan Slaughter. Remember, Tillman got beat by Greg Wilson on that out and up. Now he's got one to look forward to at game film times.
Buckley hands off again to Tostin for 3. You know, I guess a guy who's getting a good vantage point is a member of the Calgary Stampeders coaching staff and understands what this young man's going through. That's Mark Mueller, who used to be the quarterback in Regina and now is an assistant coach with the Stampeders.
And doing a great job. And Mark Mueller was a defensive assistant last year, now on the other side of the ball this year.
Working with Rich Stubler, Mueller had a chance to try his hand in the CFL. His granddad, late Ron Lancaster. Catch is made by Durant, his draft pick.
I tell you what,
his draft pick.
I tell you what, I've been impressed by Andrew Buckley.
Yes.
I don't want to put that surprise in my tone because I think it's just fighting sort of the tradition over the years that it just has not been a Canadian quarterback. He's 7 of 9 for 62. Does not look like any of this is phasing him at all.
He looks very poised, and maybe it is the environment too. Remember, he has played here at Calgary, which helps a lot. But guess what? You still got to get it done.
And it's a monster step. I mean, you know, Andrew Buckley to step in there and playing against grown men, professionals, is a huge leap. And it's the same for Jonathan Jennings. I mean, it doesn't matter if you played. There's Mark Mueller for you, and scouting from upstairs now on the offensive side of the ball. And of course, playing at the U of R through his college career can help Buckley.
Buckley, shotgun, barks it out. Hands it off on 1st and 10. You know, there have been quarterbacks that have come down the pipe before. One is in the broadcast booth with BC tonight, Julio Caravata, quarterback, but you know, few and far between, many would say.
Well, I think again one of the steps that has to happen is in the big province, 2 big provinces of BC and Ontario. We need to play Canadian rules football at the amateur level.
I'll tell you what, and Andrew Buckley can keep doing what he's doing, it would inspire even more to make it.
Just to finish up the point on that story, in British Columbia and Ontario, they're playing American rules football. In fact, when I was coming out of the amateur football system in British Columbia, I never played a down of 3-down football till I got to Saskatchewan. And I really think when quarterbacks have to throw the ball when they're younger, 9, 10, even playing flag football earlier, we're going to see more Canadian quarterbacks pro-ready by the time they go through college.
Buckley hangs in, and the catch is made. And that is Corey Mitchell, Bo Levi Mitchell's older brother.
Most people will say, Rod, that, you know, there's American fields at the high school level in those provinces, and it's tough to make the difference. I say you just play on the American field, but play 3-down football and make it where Canadian quarterbacks have to learn the proper throwing technique at a very young age. And in 10 years from that time, we will see Canadian quarterbacks starting in the CFL.
Well, thinking, and I know there's probably a young man listening in tonight. We can't forget about Brandon Bridge out of South Alabama, who grew up in the Toronto area and went down in the NCAA, had a great career, was hoping to get on in the National Football League, drafted in the 4th round by the Montreal Alouettes this year, and he's got loads of talent.
Yeah, and yeah, we've had those guys.
Kyle Quinlan.
That's right. We've had, you know, the one or two, and you mentioned Sinopoli, who switched over to receiver. But I think we'll have a lot more when if they ever decide to play 3-down football across our country.
3rd and inches. Buckley will take it himself and will get the first down. How much will this boost Andrew Buckley's confidence? Because again, there are times when we have seen the Canadian quarterbacks in the last few years who have been given a shot, but not much of one. Sometimes it's a token shot.
Well, and because coaches can't be that patient. I mean, it takes them a little longer. Now, Buckley has looked real good here, but for most Canadian quarterbacks that have tried out, Sinopoli, for example, you know, you could tell that there was going to be more time needed to develop him, whereas those U.S. college quarterbacks that have grown up in the States started throwing and playing U.S. college ball or football when they're much younger, trained differently.
Buckley hanging in now, and down he goes. That time, the young man probably would have been told by his coach to try to deliver it out of bounds as he is sacked. Andre Monroe out of Maryland lowers the boom on Andrew Buckley.
Lions are trying to look for 2 interior defensive linemen, and who are going to play those spots. Of course, Eric Taylor with Calgary trying to make their lineup, and Andre Monroe just said, hey, look at me, coach. What do you think? What do you think of that play?
This is a clock-eating drive here. 11th play. Decides to hand it off on 2nd and 20. So they'll bring out the kick team here. Under 2 minutes remain in this 4th quarter. Buckley will retreat to the sideline, and Tyler Crapigna will come out again.
That was a nice redirect by S.A. Mabre Ejufo.
Oh, you did it. You've done it.
And I'm going to keep working on that.
Mabre Ejufo does it.
Robert, see that redirect to get in on that running play? There's the Lions' 1st-round pick.
5th overall, S.A. Mabre Ejufo out of Laurier. The fact that we even said his name.
No, I had to get it in once tonight.
Remember, that was like he's the Hairelahu of this year.
Well, the amount I practiced it before the game in my hotel room.
S.A., welcome to the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, that was a nice play. But he's important in the big scheme of things.
Calgary. That'll be a 10-yard penalty. We need to reset the clock to 124.
So again, Crapigna, who's 2 for 2. Again, a Vanier Cup champion, 88% with Mac last year. And it's a tough one here behind Rene Paredes. But you have the feeling this is a guy who's going to be kicking in the Canadian Football League down the road. This is a long one from 50 for Crapigna, who puts it up, and will he put it through? No, just short. And here comes Tillman. Alex Tillman, who runs it out after big hit earlier. Crapigna misses. So we run it out tonight in this preseason game in Calgary. 20-6 Stamps.
Now, I have to admit, when I looked at the lineups and I saw that the BC Lions were leaving a lot of their veterans back in Vancouver.
How about a lot of their all-stars?
Yeah, this could be a real lopsided score. A lot of the starters here, but look at the all-star lineup that was left in Vancouver. This BC Lion team, not for that last Greg Wilson touchdown, it'd be a 12-6 game. They're hanging around. And I know the Stampeders have been substituting the second half, but they had their starters out there the first quarter.
That's why it's always tough to evaluate preseason football, and the evaluation really doesn't come from a score because there's no points for it. The evaluation comes in film breakdown and what you see and what you get, certainly for the coaches and the scouting staff, but perhaps it gives you a little confidence too, if you're a BC Lions fan, to know that, you know, yeah, last year was 9-9. Yes, there's a new coach. Yes, there seems to be a new culture. But yes, there still are some stars that could make this team tick.
Oh, and you just saw a list of them, including the MOP of the year last year, Solomon Elimimian.
Absolute season for the ages and the year of the defense. McGee's in trouble. He's going down. 6th sack of the night for the Stampeders. Greg McGee, like the predecessors tonight, running for his life. And once again, it's Brandon Boudreau chasing him down.
And keep in mind, Lions fans, they're going, uh-oh, another sack. Javon Olafioye, the starting tackle, was on that list of guys left back in Vancouver.
And he's likely not getting beaten like that by Brandon Boudreau. So a few sacks here tonight, but that's the kind of football you see in the preseason sometimes too. And players trying to get their rhythm. Big kick. Joseph around the corner. Well, one thing the Lions are seeing tonight is they are getting some booming hunts. There's a flag down. Andrew Buckley is going to finish the night out here at quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders. And I'm sure is going to derive a lot of confidence out of this night, regardless of what happens.
Well, most importantly for Stamps fans, their starting quarterback, Bo Levi Mitchell, put together a 13-play drive with 5 first downs. It ended in a field goal, but he looked like he picked up right where he left off.
Yeah, wasn't that something? And again,
Grey Cup MVP.
They had, you know, most of their starters. Now they're going to, you know, they might miss a little bit of that leadership they had from Nick Lewis, who went east this year. Mo Price was a big part of the team, obviously. Brad Sinopoli as well. They have a few holes to fill, and that's what champion teams do. They fill those holes, but they keep their nucleus together.
Well, this is a loaded team. The Calgary Stampeders are the team to beat in this league. And I would even go as far as to say, back in the old days, when Doug Flutie was the starting quarterback in Calgary, we used to go into defensive meetings and say, in order to get to the Grey Cup, eventually we're going to have to beat Doug Flutie's Calgary Stampeders. Now, I'm not saying Bo Levi Mitchell is Doug Flutie. But what I'm saying is this is a loaded Stamps team that only have a couple of spots that they're looking to fill here. One being Sean Lemon on defense. We only saw a tiny bit of John Cornish. This is the team to beat in the CFL.
Young man who has been in this formation a few times with the Calgary Dinos is going to get the football on the final play of the game. Andrew Buckley, Canadian quarterback. Last player chosen in the draft. And who knows, someday we may see him operating a CFL offense. Tonight, John Hufnagel, the reigning champs, begin the preseason with a win at 20-6. Just one touchdown, not an offensive masterpiece, but clinical by the Calgary Stampeders.
Pretty good showing by Jonathan Jennings, backup quarterback for the BC Lions. Question mark still hanging over Travis Lulay, who did not play at all tonight for the Lions, but don't read much into the score. Now the work begins for the coaching staff. Evaluate every player, see who stood out, who made mistakes, who is going to get that discussion tomorrow saying, or down the road saying, would you like the window or the aisle?
That's a tough one. Yes, sports is cruel, and it can be sweet as well. Sweeter for the Stamps tonight on our first Wendy's Friday Night Football of 2015 as we send it back to the studio.
Time to get out. And back inside our Friday Night Football studio, I'm Rod Smith along with Milt Stegall and Chris Schultz. And an evaluation, always hard, of course, when you're talking about a preseason game, as the guys were talking about. It's not so much the score that matters. But let's pick up on the story we've been talking about all night that Glenn Suter just talked about as well, the future of Travis Lulay and when he'd be able to play for the BC Lions again after getting only one start last year and did not get to play in this preseason game. That was planned all along. Neither did John Beck. So Jonathan Jennings, I mean, we saw him in the first half, but really do have to wonder, given the quarterback situation, we'll be seeing a lot more of him.
I think so. I think so, Chris. I think we'll see a lot more of him next week. I think they'll let him play maybe 3 quarters with the starting receivers, Andrew Harris starting running back, offensive lineman, because I think he's going to be the starter. You know, with Beck and Lule, you just don't know how healthy they're going to be. Lule, long-term, John Beck, I know they're going to get him back, but he has to get stronger. He has to get some of his weight back. So this Jonathan Jennings guy may be the guy for this team come opening week.
Possibility, but I do think the BC Lions, they better look at this quarterback scenario, and don't you kind of wish you had Kevin Glenn right about now? Jonathan Jennings, he had some things. He did some things well. I like the way he held the football. I like the way he moved through the football with accuracy and precision at critical moments. But understand this, when you start playing a regular season game and these defensive coordinators start designing defenses to stop what you do, to take away your best attribute, he did take a sack or 2, but that is to be expected as a young player. You know, the BC Lions didn't have 12 starters, but we all know in this league, if you don't have a quarterback, you're going to have a difficult time scoring points. Defensively, BC is going to be fine, but this is a big issue, Mel.
Yeah, and like you talked about, this defense today was very vanilla. It was probably man-to-man coverage and some zone coverage. So he's going to be in for a lot more if he's starting that first regular season game. But, hey, it is what it is. If he's their guy, they have to go with him.
Okay, and also interesting too to see the rules, these new rules manifested themselves, and see on the touchdown, for example, where you know, past the 5 yards and the defender did not cover.
Yes.
Or I shouldn't say did not make contact on that play, and there's the example right there.
Yeah, you got a young defensive back here, and last year or previous years, guys are making contact, and regardless on this play, he needs to make contact. You'd rather get a 10-yard penalty than give up a touchdown, but this is what happens when you have a young DB. This is experienced DB. He's going to grab this guy because he knows the ball is being thrown that way.
Milton, if you are a precise route runner, you are going to have success, because those type of patterns, the double move patterns, it's hard enough just to cover a single move. When you have to cover a double move, you're going to create separation. The purpose of the receiver is to create separation as much as he can for his quarterback. I think you'll see this consistently through the entire league, and I'm looking forward to these type of plays.
I could see a lot more DBs just saying, okay, I'm going to play bump and run. I'm going to challenge. I'm going to say, you're going to have to beat me off the line. I'm not going to allow you to get off the line and wear that 5-yard rule.
You know what I think it'll be? I think coordinators will make 2 decisions. You'll either play the game where you rush 3 and you drop 9, or you go play kill the quarterback.
There you
One
go.
or the other.
Well, it was the most significant rule change in terms of opening up the game. I'll be really curious to see how this changes the CFL in 2015. It's our first of 3 preseason games. We'll have another one coming up tomorrow night from Fort McMurray, Alberta. Shell Place, and it'll be the Edmonton Eskimos taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and in their first preseason tilt. And on June the 18th, Toronto against Montreal, last preseason game we'll have, leading to Journey to the Grey Cup on June 23rd, and the season preview as well. Well, let's just look ahead at a game we're going to be looking at tomorrow with the Roughriders and the Eskimos. And Edmonton, I think, just a great defense last year, just couldn't get past Calgary. Saskatchewan, Darian Durant healthy, and that certainly should be making a difference for the Riders this time.
Well, it definitely will make a difference. You see what happened when Darian Durant was out last year when he got hurt. So they got insurance policy this year in Kevin Glenn, but they're counting on Darian Durant to lead them to the promised land. And if he's healthy, he can definitely do that. He has to find a way to stay healthy. They got Richardson there. They got Dressler. They got some weapons. If Darian Durant is healthy, they can give Calgary a run for their money.
They were 8-2 at one time of the year last year with that healthy quarterback. His durability means everything to this team.
And who's their backup quarterback now?
Kevin
It is
Glenn.
Kevin Glenn, who was in that spot and, of course, was relied on heavily with the injury to Travis Lule by BC last year. Well, coming up here on TSN2 Around the Table, we've really enjoyed this series. Had a chance to talk to 4 CFL head coaches. So that episode 2 will be coming up. John Huffnagel, Ken Austin, also Corey Chamberlain and Scott Milanovich as well. That is ahead on TSN2. Good night here for the CFL with one preseason game and our coverage in the books on Friday Night Football with the Calgary Stampeders beating the BC Lions 20-6. The Stamps got their rings already. They're thinking ahead to 2015. And yes, as many have pointed out, looking like the team to beat in the Canadian Football League again. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night. So long.